Welcome to Church Jams Now. I'm so tired already. I'm so tired already, guys.
Were you up last night plotting?
No, I've got so much ska fatigue.
Oh no,
man, we haven't even listened to the record yet, and he has ska
fatigue.
Yeah,
the podcast yet.
I know. No, welcome to Church Jams
20
Now.
seconds into this thing.
The podcast where three former youth group kids and current music nerds deep dive into Christian music from the 90s and 2000s. I, of course, am your co-host, Kylan Savage. With me, as always, is Mr. TJ Smith.
Picking up.
We'll see. And, of course,
picking you up.
All right, you do that. We have beautiful producer Josh Olson.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much. I'm so tired, guys. No, I'm just doing a bit because everyone... Okay, I know I've said this before on the show, but... And TJ, you're not super involved with the, Twitter stuff.
You don't know what happens in Twitter land.
The X stuff with Church.
I feel like my mental health is a lot better for it, but
yeah.
I'm glad that y'all are out there being the bastions of culture that we have come to be known to be. That's a joke.
Thanks.
Yeah.
For clarifying.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of ska proponents out there that just hate you?
Okay.
Kylan?
CCM Twitter is where all the ska fans live now, apparently.
Okay, good to know.
But it's been kind of interesting. It's been really kind of fun, but really weird. I've never experienced this where a phrase that was generated on Church Jams Now, on Volume 3, has now taken on a life of its own in the wilderness. And I've seen people that aren't connected with Church Jams Now at all use the phrase
terminology.
Ska fatigue. And it all originated with Five Iron Frenzy, which now, and people seem to think that I hate ska because I was
because you were worn out one time,
relatively indifferent to a lot of our newest album. And guys, that was the third episode. We were still figuring out what the show was, and I remember being a little drunk.
Oh yeah, that is. True.
It was in the midst of COVID. I was day drinking.
Fair context, yes.
I was like, "There's nothing else to do, but I guess get drunk and talk about ska at 2 p.m.
Totally, I had a great time.
I did too,
regardless of your fatigue. Whether it was ska fueled or beer fueled or whatever the case may be, COVID depression.
I had a great time.
listening
to that episode.
Oh yeah, you weren't part of the show.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we missed you. We didn't even know we missed you, but we missed you. Well, I'm glad you're here this time, man. We're about to get
as am I
plotty with this engine.
Yeah, I am really excited to talk about this record.
What record?
Engine of a Million Plots by Five Iron Frenzy.
A Fine Frenzy.
Which now no. Five Iron Frenzy.
Five Iron Frenzy.
That now puts them, in second place for most covered on Church Jams Now?
As of this recording, yeah, I think so.
Because As Cities Burn holds the top spot.
Which I guess isn't very fair, but yes.
But even episode-wise. I was going to say episode-wise they match, because we did Until the Shakes Apart in 2 episodes.
2 segments.
And then Leonore.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So... regardless of how we feel about it, we are the place for Five Iron Frenzy content in the podcast world.
and you quickly mentioned our interview with Leonore. Leonore, if you're out there, we want your hot take about and all the goss about the recording of this album. So if you hear this and you're like, they got it all wrong, come on the show and tell us
these guys, these jokers.
Explain everything to us. Please, we need that in our lives.
Yeah, so I don't think we need the full rundown of who the band is and stuff, but Josh, if you want to give us some context, some research that you did on this record, I would love that. And you can probably do a quick little rundown.
Because at one point the end was near, right, Josh?
It was here as well.
And it was here.
It was near, and then it was here.
And then it was an engine of a million plots.
Yes. It was. Thank you, TJ. So, Five Iron Frenzy, as we've discussed before, is from Denver, Colorado. Their career was from 1995 to 2003, when the end was near and then here. And then they came back for this record. This was their comeback record over 10 years from when they had done their last record. It was quite a big comeback record for many reasons. Band members, they have a lot. They're a ska band. They got a lot of people in their band. And so they have everyone back that they've had before, which is Reese on vocals, Mike on guitar, Andrew on drums, Nathaniel, Brad on trumpet, Dennis on trombone, Leonore, Jeff the girl, who we've had the honor of talking to last year. You should definitely check it out if you haven't.
Friend of the
on
show.
Saxophone, and Sonny Johnston on guitars. But what's different is that Scott Kerr came back, and he was one of the original guitarists, and he was on the first 2 records and then left the band. But he was back here, so this is his first album in the band since our newest album ever.
Oh, wow.
And then they did have Keith, their original bassist, did not come back. So Scott came back, was originally playing guitar in the first time he was in the band, but he plays bass now.
He plays bass,
but he
okay.
writes all the songs now, so
Yep.
he's still like playing guitar for writing it.
Right.
And I'll talk more about
Fundamental member.
that later. Yes, definitely. And he was back then. I think that was part of what made his loss so significant whenever he left, because he wrote most of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
But Engine of a Million Plots was released November 26th of 2013, so we are covering it, getting ready for its 10th anniversary, but
Wow.
I believe when this record is releasing, it should be on 5 Iron Frenzy Day too, so it's like the perfect culmination of like this record's 10th anniversary and on 5 Iron Frenzy Day, which is November 22nd.
Josh, you're the
If you
best
didn't
at
know.
this kind of thing. Thanks
I
for
know.
making us so cool.
This is the nerdy stuff that I care about that probably 3 other people like care about, but that's why we do what we do.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
here for it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This is their 6th LP and their big comeback record. It was on the label. It was self-released, and the label is Department of Biophysics, which is very 5 Iron for them to say.
It is.
It is.
I'm sure you know, TJ. I'm curious. Kind of, you probably know. But this album was a Kickstarter campaign.
I did know that, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, and the initial goal set was $30,000. It was, when they launched it, it was met within 55 minutes and went on to ultimately raise $207,980.
That's a
By
house,
almost
y'all.
Wow.
4,000, yes, backers, especially in 2013.
Yeah, in that
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah, not so much now, but definitely back then, which at the time broke Kickstarter's record for most funded musical project.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
That's cool that they
it's been
broke a
beaten
Kickstarter
since,
record.
but it did at that time.
That's
and attracted considerable media attention from news publications documenting the website's growing notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow.
big record for many reasons.
Rad.
It was produced by Jeremy S.H. Griffith and Scott Kerr. Jeremy Griffith he did Under Oath's Disambiguation. He's done Meridional and Death Rattle Sing For Me by Norma Jean. He also did John Mark McMillan's Economy, I found.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
And I think him and
Interesting.
Dennis worked together. I think Dennis worked in their studio, so that's why they went with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Charts and performance. This debuted on Billboard 200 at number 118. Billboard
Nice.
Christian at number 8. And like I said, songwriting credits, it's all basically going to be Scott Kerr, Reese Roper, and Dennis Culp. Reese is doing most of the lyrics, but there are some differences that I'll call out for specific songs. But I will say that, and we talked about this with Leonore a little bit, of how they will write their songs, is that Scott will do a demo and he'll what's the word I'm looking for? MIDI horns and patch and
Right.
stuff like that. And
All
even
the
have
parts in MIDI.
lyrics. He'll even have the lyrics to get vocal melodies, and then Reese will write his own lyrics too. So there is an entire demos of this whole record of Scott's original songs that's on SoundCloud that you can download, and it's really fun to listen to. And some of the songs are really cool. So I have it, and I've jammed it a couple times because it's fun to hear their songs in their original form and then what they became later, and see how much they did or didn't change.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun to see the evolution of a song from demo to
And you get completely different vocalists
master.
singing
right.
totally different words, which is fun. My last thing that I found in the credits was cool is that art direction and layout and also management was by Michael Almquist.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Fun.
rad.
If all goes well, a little teaser, you should be hearing from him soon in the future.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We might be able to dig up some more dirt on how that all came to be.
I know. I'm excited. So that's all my research. It was a lot. I appreciate you bearing with
Cool.
it.
Yeah, of course. I have not much to contribute, so I appreciate that. Is this also a TJ wish list record? I don't know if
can't
it's
remember now.
technically a
I
wish
don't
list,
know
but
if
this
it-
is one
Yeah,
that
I don't know if it technically is, but
It's a big
TJ,
one for me, though.
You've talked about since the inception of the show.
Yep. Yeah, because this show, like, I don't know, for me, it's exciting to have an opportunity to cover bands that had, like maybe the height of their career in a certain atmosphere was, when we were in high school or college, right?
Right.
And then a lot of those bands kind of went the way of the buffalo, to quote an MXPX album.
Oh,
And a lot of them came back or are coming back or are reforming in a different way. And so this album is sort of a shorthand for that. It's a representative of that idea of these bands that like had a really great career and then could have stopped, but like came back and in my opinion, better than ever. Like I think that they've honed a lot of what made them interesting and fun in, this album that we're going to cover. We'll get into how they did that and what that looks like. And also Until This Shakes Apart. Like we did 2 episodes on that album and it was very contentious for me, but I'm still just like so amped that we covered it and that they made it and that it's like a part of this ongoing conversation that we're having about bands that, had this amazing career and experience and were a part of a cultural phenomenon, be it a subculture or mainstream. And then now they're like, back and doing interesting things today. I just love that. I love the kind of duality of it. And how there's a history and a modern component too.
Yep.
and how they're
That's
doing
pretty
it in like a totally different model of like
Yes.
we
Right.
just will play shows on weekends and Furnace Fest and
Yeah.
and then we'll record a record every couple of years because we're all adults and live across the country. But like,
Right.
that's a totally new model for a band
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. But it's cool that it
Yeah, that
works
is
for
really
them.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So TG's gonna bop it.
I mean, maybe.
I would love to hear more about when this record came out, like for you, TJ, and what your experience was with this.
Yeah. I mean, I remember listening to it when it dropped.
Did you contribute to the Kickstarter?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, but
yeah.
I gave what I had. Yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was an exciting thing. That was another part of, I think, why this album was big for me is like it was this group kind of movement that everybody was a part of contributing toward and creating. Yeah, and the single that they dropped early on was exciting. There was just a lot about it that had a lot of like groundswell and energy in this kind of subculture group of people, like a handful of friends of mine that I knew were Five Iron fans were talking about it, and so it just kind of has a special place in my heart for that reason.
Right.
But also, yeah, I think it's going to be a bop for me, big time. So
Cool.
What about you, Kylan? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with this record. I think I have listened to it because of you.
Could be.
I'm
And like
fairly
was
certain.
when it around the time it came out.
I think so.
It was a while
yeah.
ago.
I was pretty amped on it, so I wouldn't be surprised if I
Yeah.
was like, hey, listen to this.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Join me.
And so I have like vague memory and I'm looking at the track list and I remember the names of these songs like I'm Jack Smirking Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Blizzards and Bygones sounds really familiar to me too. Yeah, I don't know, man, but I really liked Until This Shakes Apart and I'm really excited to dig into this. I think it's going to bop for me. I think I'm going to want a shorter record, but despite that, I think I'm, in 2023 I've been a little more magnanimous with my
That's true.
with doling out my bops, So yeah, I think it's going to bop. I don't think I'm going to like discover something new that I'm like really excited about. I'm going to predict a bop. Now, cool. I want to know about you, Josh, because I think this is like a kind of big record for you too, right?
This is a big record. I have my vinyl copy.
There it is.
Ooh, yeah, you do. Look at that.
Yep. So this was a fun record because before this, I knew of Five Iron Frenzy. I knew Oh Canada. I knew You Can't Handle This, and I knew some of the These Are Not My Pants opera songs.
Yes.
But for some reason, yeah, I just didn't know Five Iron, or like I miss them. And I think there's a little bit of an age thing there potentially. I was more of the Reliant K crowd instead of the Five Iron, so I didn't know anything. So I wasn't like a Five Iron fan or something like that. But do you guys ever just have those records where like something's coming out and you just have a feeling about, you're like, I feel like I'm really gonna like this record?
Yep.
That's happened a couple of times to me, and when it lands, like it makes it even more special because I had no reason to be excited for this record. I had no skin in the game with Five Iron of like, oh, I'm so glad Five Iron's back. I really want this record to rule.
Right.
But like, I think I watched, I had no stakes in the game, but I'd watched the music video that they released for Into Your Veins, and I was like, I kind of like this. And so like, I just had a feeling that I was really going to like the record. And I was like, I don't know why. I have no reason to justify this. And then it came out and I absolutely loved it. I remember I was listening to it like 3 or 4 times a day for like the first week or two that it was out. And like, it was just such a like a fun way to be like, I had a feeling about this record and it was true. And I don't know, I just loved everything about like, I like the artwork and like the themes present, and it came out in November, and I just was, I don't know, it was just a great time where I was just in love with this record and enjoying it and having a great time, and kind of brought me into Five Iron Frenzy. This is my favorite Five Iron Frenzy record, and so it was very special to me, and it's still like, I remember whenever we were a little while ago, it was probably around the time Till the Shakes Apart was about to come out, or y'all had covered the our newest album ever or something like that, and I was listening to it again, and I was like, this is so much fun. Like I hadn't listened to it in a while, but I still think it holds up. It's been a while since I've listened to it. I can't remember the last time I did, maybe a year or 2 ago.
Sweet.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's definitely going to be a bop for me. I will say
Sweet.
I do enjoy this dynamic. We've had it a couple times on the show where it's like 2 people that are a lot more familiar with an artist, and then one person that's not. Like I think like our Artist in the Ambulance episode,
right?
Like TJ was, I like this dynamic. It's interesting to me.
We're like, will you come into the fold with us?
Right?
So.
Yeah.
And then does grumpy old cantankerous me is like, I don't want to play with you guys. But we'll see. So we're gonna take a week and listen to Engine of a Million Plots. After you listen to some sweet, sweet ads, we'll go through track by track.
Yeah, we will.
Gentlemen, I want to talk to you about our favorite sponsor ever.
Is it Colgate?
Nope.
Is it?
I've never brushed my teeth.
Oh, no. You never? And they're still intact, man? How?
They're fake.
Oh, right.
That part is true, everybody. I do brush my teeth, but my front 4 teeth are fake. This is a great ad for CollideRecords.com.
Oh my God. I think I forgot it was an ad.
COL.
Yeah.
It's like Colgate,
Oh my God.
Collard Greens. Collide.
Yes, this episode brought to you by Collard Greens and CollideRecords.com. So, fun fact. If you are anyone that is not Josh Olson, who already has Engine of a Million Plots on vinyl, guess what? You can get it from CollideRecords.com.
No way.
And you can also get the CD, which I also have.
Okay, there you go. Then you can be as cool
Rub
as
it
Josh.
in our face, man.
No. TJ, we can go do this. We can go be as cool as Josh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, they have it on sale. The vinyl's only $30.
Nice.
They've got a lot of Five Iron stuff, which is pretty cool.
Which it's a great package, I'll say. And Until the Shakes Apart, I know Unoriginal Vinyl did that one. So, and they did the Between the Pavement and the Stars vinyl as well, which Unoriginal Vinyl always does killer stuff. So
quality.
And I have the Engine, so I know all the records that they have are going to be great records, easily worth the price. But
I love that.
There's something about the price that makes it even easier.
Might it be a promo code?
It is.
I believe it may be. We all tried. So, okay, listen, here's what you're going to do. You're going to type on your computer.
How was that again?
Collide Records. Type.
Okay.
Collide
That's
Records.
the way my keyboard
It's 3
sounds.
buttons. That's all it takes.
or if you want to do this in a different way, if you go to colliderecords.com/products/5-iron-frenzy-million-plots-vinyl?pos $4 &_PSQ $5 plus iron &_SS $E &_V $1.0. That'll take you to the page where you can buy Engine of a Million Plots on
It's
vinyl.
that easy. It's that easy.
It couldn't be easier.
And then you go to checkout and type in promo code
No.
Church Jams Now
Oh,
for
that was
20%
easy.
off.
That's
Okay.
easy. Okay.
That
got it.
part's
great.
easy for sure. For
Got
20% off your first purchase.
20%? That's unreal.
Yeah, for 20% off your first purchase. And that'll tell them that we sent you. So you should definitely buy that record.
Or, it's almost Christmas. Buy it for someone else in your life that doesn't have these records on vinyl.
There you go.
There it is.
Tell them they
Like
can be
TJ.
as cool as
Buy it for
Josh.
TJ.
Yeah, buy it for
Yeah,
TJ.
buy it for TJ. Yes, please. Merry Christmas.
That is going to be it. Let's get back to the show. Hey,
Yo,
have you guys heard of Patreon?
Patri.
Patreon.
Patricide? Where you kill your dad?
No, Jesus Christ. Okay. We're starting this over.
We can start.
Hey, have you guys heard of Patreon?
Yes, I have.
Have you heard of patreon.com/churchjamsnow podcast?
Weirdly, yes, I have.
Oh,
I've
cool.
actually been there a few times, believe it or not.
Ah, cool. That's pretty rad.
But I don't know if our listeners have. So you could tell them.
Well, our
about it.
patrons do. And the funny, ironic thing is that the patrons won't even hear this.
Right.
So,
They don't know we're talking about them right now.
yeah.
The beauty of this podcast.
That is the beauty of this podcast is if you join our Patreon, which starts at only $2 a month. For $2 a month, you can listen to the whole show early and without ads, which is pretty rad. And we do a radio show called WCJN. And then our tiers go up from there. We do trivia night where we just kind of like on Zoom, just like hang out with people. We've got one coming up, another one coming up this year. So it's a good time to get in. Maybe gift someone, the jammer in your life who you don't know what else to get them.
Jammer in your life that
Get them
just loves
access.
obscure music content.
Yeah.
Music
Give them-
podcast
From us.
content.
Give them access
What more could they want?
to our bonus episodes on patreon.com/churchjamsnow podcast. And I believe there's something else you can do to help us out.
Yeah,
Ooh.
if you're not a patron and not looking to gift a patron experience to that lucky jammer in your life, what you can do that we would greatly appreciate, that costs you absolutely nothing, only a
Nothing.
few seconds of your time, is if you could rate and or review us on Spotify and Apple or whatever your podcast listening platform of choice. Those ratings and reviews really help us. They help us climb the podcast charts, if you will, and they help with algorithms and placements and stuff like that. So we don't make the rules, but it helps us out a lot. So we would appreciate if you guys could leave us something there, give us a couple stars, however many stars you think we're deserving. 5 would be
sure.
great, but
5 would
whatever
be
your
great, but
whatever your
yeah.
heart says, do what you
Yeah.
must do.
You can rate Kylan Ska Fatigue as a 1. Just the podcast, if you could be a little more generous, that would
That's
be great.
true. That's a very
be great.
important clarifying distinction.
Yeah, we want
TJ.
to qualify that.
Yes.
Like,
That's true.
the opinions of each of these hosts doesn't reflect the overall stances and views of CJN as an organization. So just keep it straight, y'all.
In fact, if you want to really stick it to Kyle and give him even more Ska Fatigue, if we get so many 5-star reviews, maybe
Ooh.
we can just make Kylan do even more Ska records.
We'll do like a
So,
mini series.
Like, that's their way to
Okay,
stick
how
it
about
to
this?
him.
How about this, guys?
a mini Skaries.
If
There
we
it
do, if we get 100 5-star reviews, October of 2024 will not be October,
Ooh.
but will be known as Ska-tober.
Skoktober. Keep the C though.
Yeah,
Skoktober.
Skoktober.
October, yeah.
All right, that's enough. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Church Jams Now. I really hope you enjoyed those ads as much as we enjoyed making them, which was quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
We listened to Engine of a Million Plots by 5 Iron Frenzy. And guys, I don't know what y'all made me do.
Did you have to wander through a dark and stormy night, Kylan?
Oh, I did. And, against a sea of troubles, I traveled so far.
That's right.
But you know what? Maybe it's someone else's problem.
Probably is.
Maybe
You
it's
could say that.
Maybelline.
You might
No,
want to study
okay.
Zen and the art of xenophobia.
Probably need to start a fire on your journeys to keep warm at night.
No, okay. So what I mean by that, guys, is I'm a little upset with y'all for making me listen to this record.
Okay.
Because
Go on. You've got us on the edge of our seats here.
Because I have
you've got a character,
I have a
persona you have to
reputation.
keep
I have a
up.
reputation to uphold,
Oh.
sir.
Okay.
And something's starting to
As
make
the
sense in
resident internet ska's
The Ska
punching
Miser.
bag. Yes,
That's
as the
right.
Ska Miser.
You are our lovely Ska Miser.
I might be a 5 Iron Frenzy fan after listening to this.
Mhm.
Okay, for some reason I put, and I feel like they had to have said it whenever this album was close to coming out, that they called themselves, like, this album was like rock with horns. It wasn't like
Yep.
ska. Because
Yeah.
I put that as like the
Yeah.
genre in iTunes. I used to love to put like funny genres in iTunes when I was a young teenager and 20-year-old. But I remember that
Don't
was in there.
act
So
like
they
you don't
had to
still
have,
do. You don't act like you wouldn't still do that if you're still
No.
using iTunes primarily.
probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, if Spotify had that option.
It's true. But yeah, so I do remember them, they had to have said that somewhere. I couldn't find where it was, that they called it more rock. So this isn't like, I'm sure the ska purists out there are like, this isn't real ska. So I
Right.
think you're safe, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
this is a
I can
subgenre.
still hate ska.
It's like 5 Iron steps sideways from
Right.
where they were before. And they were like,
Yeah. But it's funny, I have actually some specific
The
notes
water's
that
nice
are
over
along
here.
these lines for later in the record. But those are my general thoughts. I don't know if y'all have any general thoughts before we dive into the record.
I just want everyone to know that TJ is here in person in Texas.
And
Clink.
Clink.
we have to say a big ol' whopping thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers and Collide Records
Yes, thank you.
for helping us out. We are all recording on some brand new podcasting equipment, and we feel cool as hell.
Professional studio grade quality mics.
Studio
Only
grade.
on Church Jams Now.
Quality
That's
mics.
right.
It's so lovely.
No more weird peeking from me.
You have internet now.
I have
It's great.
internet. Yeah, exactly.
You have
So
internet,
it's
it's
smooth
great, yeah.
sailing from here on out.
Woohoo! That'll be a tough expectation to meet.
Yeah. No, you know what? You're right. Let's
Smooth
keep
sailing
expectations
against
from
the
here on
sea of troubles, you mean?
On a dark
Can we
and
just,
stormy
I don't
night.
know how we're going to do that.
Josh, if you edit this episode, can you just start making my audio
Glitch.
right here
Glitch
out, just to maintain
Expectations.
expectations for everybody?
Have it get real
just
distorted
cut it.
and just
You guys-
cut
Just-
it,
yeah,
like,
just
chop it up a little bit.
Like randomly.
Okay. Well, are we ready? Well, okay. I am curious.
I just want to say this is 2 episodes in a row that you've been grumpy at the beginning of
the
our part B,
beginning,
but it's
yep.
grumpy for it sounds like a good reason is what I'm gathering. So I'm excited
Correct.
to hear
Here's the
more
thing.
about
I'm
that.
not actually grumpy. I'm much better this week than I was.
Good.
Than I was
We love to
last
hear that.
time.
Yeah.
It's probably all the horns I've been hearing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
They're
but
enough to
it's-
get you
it's
chipper and happy.
Yeah. Well, last week when we were doing that episode, I was just raging against a sea of troubles, and this week I'm,
You
so
shed your
far
mortal
it's smooth
coil.
sailing.
Yep.
Right.
So let's go ahead and jump right into track number 1, Against a Sea of Troubles.
Does anyone else feel like the opening of this album is like drifting to a shore? Like you've like washed up from a wreck onto
sure.
a shore, that guitar washing in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I
a
feel
beautiful
it.
intro. I love it.
is. It's lovely. Paints a picture.
And then it's just
And then it just jumps right in. And this horn arrangement.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, Kylan, is this what you were expecting when you were like, "Oh, we're doing another 5 Iron record, like ska"? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. First
What were you
song.
thinking?
What's your first thoughts?
I
when
was
this comes
expecting it a little more because we did do
on? That's true. Until it shakes apart.
Until It Shakes Apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was expecting a little more kind of like that, which
Right.
this delivered on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to get it out of the way. Sweet, sweet bass.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's like some
Sweetest.
sweet, like pop punk bass.
And you
Just,
know,
like,
like
picked
when
and
your
just-
bassist is writing all the music, you know
Yep.
he's going to be high in
Those
the mix.
lines are going to be
Yeah.
perfect. They're going to be stellar. Yeah, the mix is going to be great for the bass.
Also, guys, his vocal performance on this song, does he not sound like Chris Carrabba from Dashboard Confessional?
I could hear a little bit of that.
Not on the chorus,
think-
but listen in these verses.
the kind of
like an alter the
throaty,
ending
whispery
kind of-
Yes,
thing.
exactly. Like later Dashboard.
Yeah, later
Uh-huh.
Dashboard.
It's like that kind of whispery.
Yep. I can hear
okay.
it.
Yeah,
I couldn't
I've
get that out of
never
my
heard that
head,
before.
and now
I
you
wouldn't.
can't
I wouldn't
either.
have placed that because Reese was in my life much before that stuff, and so
Right.
if anything, I would have compared Carrabba to Reese.
Oh, but see, his voice doesn't always sound like that. It's very specifically
No,
on this
yeah.
song. It's that
This
kind of
delivery.
like when Chris Carrabba does that thing on later Dashboard records, where it's like
right.
he's almost trying too hard to kind of whisper sing, and it's like got that same kind of delivery.
Right. Dude, my first note was other than the little like island visual of that washy guitar, was just like, well, 5-Iron grew up.
Yeah,
Like it's such a mature and kind of dialed in sound. Like they're not wasting any time letting us know like they've really shown up in a new way. They're taking this record seriously, but it's not lacking the kind of like unique sound, the great blend of horn arrangements, like the engaging elements that we've come to know and love that are 5-Iron, you know? So
Well,
I love
that's
that.
what
They
I
haven't
loved-
lost themselves. you
Yeah.
know?
I love the like, and I have a lot more notes about this later on, but I like the like pretty intense lyrics with the really fun melodies.
Oh, yeah.
And the lyrics are all very to be or not to be inspired
Yes.
from
Yep.
Hamlet's famous soliloquy.
Right.
Josh, can you read that whole soliloquy right now
Yeah.
for context?
I actually happen to have my skull here that I can
Yes.
perform to, you know?
Perfect.
You could just use my
Yeah,
head
to
if you
be-
want.
yeah,
'cause
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
Yeah, just
can
use
get
TJ's
straight-
head.
Yeah, here we go.
Hold on,
Be
I
or
gotta
not
take a
to
screenshot
be.
of that.
That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler to suffer, I don't know the actual, but he says to suffer slings and arrows, there's a pull from that, or take arms against the sea of troubles, where the song gets its title from. And then he also says, he mentions the mortal coil.
Very Shakespearean intro.
Yeah, which is cool, you know?
Yep.
Which, if I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to hear that soliloquy, I'd be like, oh, 5-Iron, that's more my touch point than actual Hamlet, than actual Shakespeare. Yeah.
Right. A reference of a reference.
Yep.
Of an homage.
Well, he does that. I will say he does references really well throughout this
Super well.
entire
Yep.
record.
Because he couches them in like substantive lyrical content. It's not just reference for reference sake, right? Like,
Correct.
and this is a great example of that. And like you're not just like sitting there going like, wait, this is like a Shakespeare scene put to music. Like
Right.
it feels so natural. You wouldn't you could hear this song and never realize that it's a reference to Hamlet.
Right.
But if you know it, it's also like, oh, I see what you did there. Do we know if the thunder pealing line is also Hamlet?
Might be.
It's at the end.
I didn't look it up.
Yeah. I cannot hear you through the thunder's peal.
Yeah, my only hope is that you cannot not be real.
That's good.
I love that line because
That's
it's
very
so economical, and it just like you know what he's saying. It lands with
and
me.
it feels
every
very
time.
on brand for them too, like to
Yes.
say that, but then flip it kind of on its head, use the double negatives as a fun way, but it
Yes.
still doesn't take away from like the serious kind of plea in there.
If anything,
Right.
I think it strengthens it because a lot of times thinking about like that double negative, you sometimes in your vernacular or your vocabulary, like when you're struggling through something, you use weird language because you're like in such turmoil or you're like in an emotional place, and so your words may not always make the most sense. And so the double negative to me actually is kind of like a strong choice.
No, I like it a
And
lot.
you're right, it's fun. It's like this is classic 5-Iron goofiness,
Yeah.
but also super serious. I think the ending of the song is so fun.
Spoiler alert, I loved the lyrics on this record.
How could you not?
Hey,
Of course.
I'm glad
I know, but
that you
I'm
just
not a
came out
lyric
and said
guy.
it.
Yeah, I'm just
that's so
like-
cool. I love it.
I'm such a vibe guy, but
There's a lot to dig into.
Yeah.
there really is, and I'm so excited to dig into it.
I can't wait.
later.
to
Also,
hear it.
can we just mention how the neatness of the last line in the first song of this record being "With My Last Breath"? Like it's the opening sort of line or idea from the band
Right.
for this album, but it's about someone's last breath.
Oh,
I thought that was kind of cool. There's like some poetic symmetry in there.
yeah, I
For
didn't
sure.
even notice that. Speaking of symmetry, I did think that the arrangement of the song is kind of interesting because what I would call the chorus is the "my only thought" part with "my last breath," but like it happens so quick, like it
It's more
feels
like
like
a
a
tag.
pre-chorus or a tag.
Or pre-chorus, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then they go into what feels like when they go into it, like the way it hits, where they're saying "one last night against a sea of troubles," which is my favorite part of the song. When
Love
that
it.
hits at like 148, I love that. But it's like that feels like a chorus, but it functions more as just a bridge.
Yeah.
And so it's strange how like you're getting a mini chorus, and then this is
Yeah.
technically the bridge because they only do it once. But it's just always seems weird to me. But I like it.
But it works.
Yeah, it still kind of makes the song feel like a little bit more of a glorified intro track because you don't get like a full structure or
like,
arrangement song, but
Right.
it doesn't make it any lesser.
But I like
Right.
that it does. What a good first track should do. It does set you up, I think, for
Yeah.
what you're gonna get on this record.
And like the song's pretty short. It gets in and gets out, doesn't it? So,
most of
like,
these songs do.
It's
Yeah.
I really love that. Like because it doesn't feel. It's not one of those that I'm left wanting too much more. I am left wanting
Right.
exactly the right amount more, which is track 2,
Yeah.
and it's complete with that organ outro, which is just like
Yeah.
moody and cathartic.
Yeah,
but
which
subtle.
kind of, going back to symmetry, kind of matches the intro a little bit, but is a little bit different.
Right. Different tonal, different instrument creating a different
Mm-hmm.
tone, but it's still that kind of washy drone thing.
Yeah. Well, so far it seems like we're pretty on board with this record.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
let's move on to track number 2, So Far.
So far, there's nothing that you and I can't do. So far, we're losing. So far, it's all with you. So far, so far.
Great transition from track 1.
Oh, yeah,
I wish every record had
Was this clean?
transitions between
Uh-huh.
songs.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I just love it. And okay, sorry, I'm not trying to hog the conversation. I just feel like this was the most unexpected for me. Like I experienced
Yeah.
the most
Hey,
sort of like new.
This is like an awakening for you, and we're here to witness it.
TJ and I in the part A were just like, yeah, we've loved this record for 10 years, of course.
Yeah.
So
This is all
great.
you,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, Take it.
the dark synthy opening is like super good. Feels reminiscent of like some John Carpenter kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I love that. Okay, we talked about like the Shakespeare of it all in track 1, and so then I love that they follow it up with just like the most comic book song of all time.
The Hulk, Human Torch.
So I don't know if y'all did this, but I don't know how necessary it is, but I decided to compile sort of
Go for it.
all of
I
the
think
comic
it's
book references.
necessary.
Go
Yeah,
for it,
I
man.
felt so. So he says, leaping buildings in a single bound. Obviously, Superman. Gamma rays are
Right.
from the Hulk.
Hulk. Yeah.
Vita rays from Captain America. That's what they used in
Right,
the Super
right.
Serum. And web swinging is just wishful thinking, which I love,
Mm-hmm.
is from Spider-Man.
Friendly neighborhood.
And yeah, I just love that he followed up with like, here's all these Shakespearean references. And now let's talk comic books.
You thought
And
we were
this
so
was-
grown up? Now here's a superhero
We went
song.
back.
Yep.
Right.
But showing the range is the fun part in 2 songs.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's sequenced perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just taking different elements of culture and sort of which on the 2 other records of theirs that we covered, I feel like Reese has done a really good job of that lyrically, of taking cultural reference points
Mm-hmm.
and personalizing them and outputting them as something different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
doesn't
the
feel
song
like cliche
isn't
or
just
anything.
Once again,
Right.
it's not just reference for reference sake. Like
Right.
it could be seen that way like a little bit. Like, okay, let's try to cram in as many superhero references, but they all make sense within the context of the song.
I especially think like the more you know, like you kind of like figure out who Reese is as a person and who they are as a band. If you see them live or even just video of them live, like you immediately kind of grasp like, oh, this is just like them being authentic and like this is how Reese writes.
Well, yeah,
And this makes
especially this coming out in
sense.
2013 when like the MCU, like
It was
phase
1
and
year
2
after
is getting-
Avengers.
right? It's
Yep.
like that could feel like, oh, you're just cashing in, but it's like they've also done songs like "Wizard Needs Food Badly." Like this, they could have done this song even if the MCU hadn't started yet.
Completely. Yeah. They would have written this song, if they were just reading comic books in their basement.
Yep.
Which
Right.
They probably did. So there's a level of authenticity to it. Also, sonically, that moment, that like weird, like Secret Agent Man breakdown, where it goes from like straight ahead punk pop to like with that weird bass line that again is like Scott just doing what he's gonna do in the best way. I love that. That's like my favorite moment in the song because again, it's kind of unpredictable. Like you didn't see it coming, and you're just like, well, this is bizarre and doesn't feel like it should work or make sense in this song, and yet it does so perfectly. I love that.
I want to mention my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts. I love the chorus. It's so funny because so far, there's nothing that you and I can't do. So far, well, mostly so far, it's all been you.
Yes.
That's so good. And the way like he delivers it too, it's like well, mostly so far it's all been you. Like I'm realizing this, I have to admit it. Like I love it's a funny idea and just how he delivers it too is just perfect.
It's a winking humility. It's like, well, I guess it was you the whole time.
Yeah, I love that. So
But it also does similar to what we were saying earlier, like it doesn't lack like gravitas too. Like it's like an admission of your need for that other person or
Well, do you guys think too this is almost I don't know, this is pure speculation, talking out my ass, but do you think this is maybe sort of like a sequel to Superpowers from our newest album ever?
all right.
I could see
Because
it. I
that
feel like
whole
they're
thing
siblings,
too
at
is
least.
like also talking about like, hey, we're not that great.
Right. We've been given superpowers.
We've been given superpowers, and then
Yes.
the line in this is like, it's all mostly been you. Like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
that clicked for me
Yeah.
purely
Yeah.
because of this show. Purely because now I have
actually
like
didn't think-
context.
I think you're onto something there.
No, I definitely think so. I guess a quote from Reese on this song that I thought was pretty funny. He was talking about how Scott was writing the album. He would put placeholder lyrics in, and Reese says,
Oh, I read this too.
Oh, yeah. Scott had written this beautiful song about his wife called So Far, which I completely annihilated with stupid references to comic book characters. Yeah, I'm that bad of a person. I tried to make it be about God to remove some of my guilt, but I am still haunted by my utter wretchedness. Lo, I am but a worm and not a man, scorned by everyone and despised by the people. Anyway, it's some song about how we need the Lord because the things that comics have told us will give us superpowers will actually only kill us.
And that quote is so great because it's like he's being totally serious and a absolute goofball.
Yes.
The whole time.
That's Fine Iron. Yeah.
yeah.
Which he's so good at. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that effortlessness and like natural way that it comes across. And it's like, it doesn't feel forced. It's so endearing. I can't help but love it. But what I love about this album and these songs really showcase that they can grow up and they can really like address some heavy topics and some serious themes without losing that like fun spiritedness and like, upbeat and goofy energy. It doesn't have to be one or the other, like it can be both.
Well, I put that note on another song, but it's not specific to that song. It's more about the album as a whole, so I'll give it here. Like, I love how angry Five Iron is.
Oh, totally.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
because the music is so fun, and they do that balancing act of being of like recognizing the ridiculousness of life, like this sort of Joe Cutler, who's been on the show, friend of the show, friend of life, and I have talked about that a lot of like happy nihilism, which is essentially just absurdism.
Yep.
But like there's a little bit of that anger that comes from like because nihilism is not practical, you guys know.
No, sir.
But
I see what you did there.
just that like but there's a little bit of that anger. And I was talking to my wife about that today, is like what I like about like these newer Five Iron records, like Until It Shakes Apart and this one, like political is not the right word, but just kind of mad at all the hypocrisy everywhere.
Yeah, it's
In politics,
I think
in
social
religion,
commentary.
everywhere. Yeah.
is the phrase that I kept
Yeah.
kind of referring to across this album. It's not entirely political. It seems wider and like larger in scope. And
You know
more
what
personal.
though? This seems like a really good discussion to continue into the next song.
Definitely.
Zen
How
and the
artful
art
of you.
Zen and the art of xenophobia. So first off, I have to say before we get too deep into it, on our Patreon, we're gonna try something new, and we watched the music video for this song, and we're gonna kind of break it down and talk about it on there. So if you want to hear that, then just come hang out with us
And
on Patreon.
watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Can I start off talking about this song?
Please.
Please.
Okay. It's not my first note. I will go to my second note first. 10 out of 10, perfect song, no notes.
Okay.
Wait, that was your second
That's my
note?
second
That's
note.
your second note.
My first
Okay.
note is, why does this song not have over 1 million streams?
Great first note.
Which,
Dude, okay,
I was
and I'm going to
looking-
talk about this on the Patreon
Yeah.
too. The music video only has
the
200,000
music
views.
video is so good.
That's crazy.
It's insane to me.
But yeah, it's crazy. Five Iron, as of this recording, only has 4 songs on Spotify with over 1 million streams. And this is like the 5th most streamed song on the record. And it was one of the singles. It got the biggest budget for the music video. I'm like, I don't understand why this song is not huge.
Yep. I agree.
Like,
It's bonkers to me.
This is kind of the song on this record for in my mind. Like,
Yeah. So I have 2 favorites on this record.
okay.
me too,
and
Colin.
So this is the other favorite depends on context, and we'll get into that. So besides that one, this is my favorite. I know it might be basic because it was like the single, but this song is just so
It's so good.
fucking good, man. It's so good.
It really is. At the risk of making the episode unnecessarily long, I just want to read the lyrics because I kind of want the
Please.
lyrics to speak for themselves.
Yeah,
Like we can say a lot about it, but like I feel like because they're one of those bands too that you're bopping along with so much that you kind of can miss sometimes how great
right.
the lyrics are, right?
For sure.
So I thought like if we're covering some lyrics that we and you now, Kylan, have joined the ranks of the Reese lyric appreciators. So if we're all on board, it's like let's read the dang things.
I would say, do you want to read it from my booklet? But they're actually pretty small and hard to read.
They
so,
are.
Yeah.
Shoot. All right. Well, you can correct me if
No, you're
I
good. Do
miss
what you're gonna
anything.
do.
He's our copywriter here
small.
on the show. So verse 1: cling to your God and your guns. The banjo's playing hot cross buns. Even just that is so great. Bucket seats set to recline. No need to cross the county line. Are the Arabs closing ranks? About to roll some Russian tanks? Shut the doors and save the kids. Lock and load, just like Jesus did.
Great line.
Great line. Chorus is the United States of amnesia. Make us numb, make it dumb. Anesthesia. Cut the cord, close the door. We don't know ya. It's Zen and the art of xenophobia. And then verse 2, let's keep them separate. Melanin just can't succeed. Give me liberty or something. It's better if you just don't read. Crank your phasers up to slaughter. Turn your wine back into water. When you play this song, Al Qaeda wins, and Jesus was American.
Like that's so intense and
I'm hot.
one of the
cool
best one of the best like chunks of lyrics like maybe of all time. Like it totally
It's like bold and
Yeah.
and somehow like
and
you're-
satirical.
And
which they do
satirical,
very well too. Like,
and you're like not mad about it. You're like, oh wait,
Yeah, well, and I will say I prefer this version because whenever Until This Shakes Apart came out, I texted y'all and I was like, oh wow, like this is like Fire Iron Frenzy. I said they're not like 5 Iron Funzy anymore. They're like mad. Yeah, and that's what I like about this song is like you can tell the heart and like the message of what Reese is getting at, but it's packaged in a very fun, very clever wordplay way.
Oh, yeah.
That still makes it very fun to engage with. And then when Until It Shakes Apart came out, it was like just like pretty straightforward, like we're angry. These are
well,
the reasons
a lot
why.
has happened from 2013
Sure.
until
I
when that
understand-
record
yes,
came out.
yeah,
It's
of
like,
course,
okay,
completely.
we're no longer going to be fun. Like, I get
Right,
it.
I get that, and that was definitely what they've talked about. With
But that is what makes
that's
this
what
album interesting.
Yes, that's what I
'cause
really
it-
love about that.
it hit after they were kind of just the silly band that definitely had a stance and stood for something, but they didn't inject a lot of that frustration or critique into their lyrics. Where here, I feel like what you're saying, Josh, is they're unapologetically doing that. They have decided to like inject kind of their ethos or philosophy into not just sort of their, banter in between songs at a live show, or, if somebody interviews them, they have the opportunity to kind of make a stance on a certain issue. They've like gone ahead and said it in the lyrics now. Like Reese is like, here we go, this is it. But there's still so much of that like kind of goofiness in life that makes 5 Iron a fun band to engage with.
Yeah,
Sonically, his vocal lines, they're so hooky, they're so easy to sing to and just kind of like bop along to. It really does seem to be like a balance that they've found to easily lean into, and then for the listener to be like, oh wait, I need to kind of think about that and maybe reevaluate my stance on this, because Reese is challenging me a little bit.
yeah.
But he's drawing me in. He's not pushing
That's
me
the thing.
away.
Yeah, if it's
right?
if you're at odds with the ideas he's presenting, the way he's presenting it is going to make you be
It
like,
really matters.
I'm still going to think about this. Whereas if you present it in a lesser way, you're going to be like, nah, not for me, whatever. I don't want to hear
Right.
this. So
Right.
Well,
I think it's a very
the thing that
artful
I
way.
like about
Yeah.
it is kind of what I like about 5 Iron as a whole is that like this song could also have easily been written by an anti-Christian political
Oh, completely.
punk band.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's the same kind of anger at the hypocrisy of all of it, but it hits different when it's like the calls coming from inside the house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like we're on the same team,
Right.
And they're saying
yeah,
this,
and
yeah.
fuck
Yep.
this. Like,
Yeah.
It's like an elbow in your side as opposed to a gun to your head. Kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from here. Like, because we're coming from the same place.
Yeah.
but that man, when you play this song, Al Qaeda wins and Jesus was American, like,
Those two lines only like the whole song could be that, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the line before of crank your phasers up to slaughter, turn your wine back into water. That's
Water.
so good.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
all of it, because then I want to say, let's keep them separate. Melanin just can't succeed. Give me liberty or something. It's better if you just don't read. Like, especially like in 2023, going into 2024, like that
Yeah,
just hits even harder.
even
like,
yeah, it's just even
the
more.
way politics are now, 10 years after the fact.
Yep. I mean, there have been a lot of great poets and artists over the course of history that hit harder later, but like
Right. Like,
5
not
Irons
only
joining
am
the
I
ranks.
surprised that this didn't hit as hard when it came out, but I'm surprised that it hasn't
had like a resurgence.
a resurgence like
Yeah.
the way The Office did when it went to Netflix. Like,
right.
yeah, because it's even more applicable
Mm,
now.
yes.
So here's hoping it gets the CJN bump.
Of course. And especially the music video. The music video is so
Yeah,
good.
the music
Oh,
video
yeah.
is.
I want to
so
talk about musically a little bit because I do love
Hmm.
in the bridge where they add the little do 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 do's, and basically anytime Leonore shows up, because it sounds like you can like hear her in there like peeking through. And I don't know, I love female vocals and songs, and just like peppering it in there, especially because there's like so many guys in the band, like having Leonor's voice in there is just like a great
Balance it out.
texture.
Yeah, you need that feminine energy.
So
Yeah, that's a good point, Josh. Like there are so many moments across this album, and that's a great one where there was a little extra touch happening on these songs. Like the arrangement, the production, the amount of different voices, the amount of different horn parts that are layered and intentionally written out. Like I feel like we're seeing some serious music theory chops getting played out, and a lot of performance skill that like maybe they were just like really working on their instruments between, when they
in their 10 years off, they're like just really getting good.
They're just like working, man, and it shows. And I don't know, it made this album when it came out all the more exciting. It was like I was just floored. The musicianship, like not just the writing and like, the songwriting being really interesting, the lyrical content being engaging. I was just like, the musicianship across this album is amazing.
Yes, the musicianship and the production. Because, okay, obviously more sweet bass.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the drums on this record. Like, they are that perfect balance of feeling super compressed and super loud and upfront in the mix and super live.
Yeah, they're punchy. There's some crunch when it needs to be there. They're so fun, and they do feel live. Like it does feel like I'm just watching the drums like be cracked in half on every song. Honestly,
I want to bring up. It's not a solo. It's not a breakdown. It's like an instrumental part. This part right here at 156. Just the tension in there of like the notes that they're playing right there is just, it mixes so well, I think, with the lyrical content. And then it goes into like a horn part, and it's like, oh yeah, I forget. Like 5 Hour and Frenzy is like all about the horns. It's all so rad.
Yeah, and that was something too. I feel like this song is a great example of that. The horns are never where they don't need to be. They're kind of only showing up in exactly the moment you want them, which makes it all the more rewarding.
Or right after you kind of forget about them.
Right.
And so then it's like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they are more present than that. Like, shameless plug, I was listening to, not for us, but listening to the You Spring and Springsteen on My Bean, the Adam Scott and Scott Aukerman. But I just listened to the one where they talked about Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is my favorite Bruce Springsteen record.
Nice.
And there's only 3 songs where Clarence plays because it doesn't really fit the vibe of that. But it's like when that happens, you're like, oh yeah, I wonder what Clarence has been doing this whole time when he's not playing. But this is not that way. Like they're everywhere throughout the record, but like you said, they don't show up in ways that they don't. And then even if you do forget about them, you can go back and listen and be like, oh, they've kind of been here the whole time. They just fit so well. It wasn't drawing attention away from other things or whatever.
Yeah, I love it.
Good. It's a great
Can
song.
I share a quote from Reese about this song?
Please.
It's potentially equally as incendiary as the lyrics themselves. So, trigger warning, anybody. But here we go. Where he says, "This is what you can do," and I love this beginning part. This is what you can do when you don't have a record label, because as we mentioned, this record was crowdfunded, and so there was just like complete autonomy, complete freedom to really just go crazy on this. He says, this is what you can do when you don't have a record label. Also, this is what living in the gun crazy center of the Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, does to you in an election year. I really believe that the biblical model is to let Christianity influence our politics, not to be the politics. There are a few things more embarrassing for me than the endless parade of jackwads. He uses the term jackwads, which I love. Currently using the name of Jesus Christ for political gain in this country. Historically, the name of Christ has been used since the 1st century to justify countless atrocities. You would think that in a country that has barely just emerged from slavery and institutionalized racism, we would approach things with a bit more caution. We still don't get it. Stop using the name of Jesus in your politics. Our political machine is driven by fear and greed and the promise of those two things, neither one of them being an attribute espoused by anyone in the New Testament, especially Jesus. Our nation is split in two, with one side parading xenophobic madness as a means of political gain. This is not how Christ taught us to behave. And then he says, P.S. Christians, if you think that things like taking care of the earth, treating women and people with different skin color than yours as equals, protecting children from being mowed down with semi-automatic rifles, feeding and clothing the poor, taking care of widows, the sick, and the elderly are political stances, you are being used. You have two jobs as a Christian: to love God and love others. And if your politics are getting in the way of that, if your fear is keeping others from doing that, then please rethink your life. So, like, he's not pulling any punches, man. Like Reese,
Well, that's
like
what I'm
we've
talking
said,
about.
there's
Like,
some
it's
anger
even more
coming up.
relevant today.
I know, that's the crazy thing. Yeah, but I did think like having that full context of the song is pretty important because, like I said, it's like it's no longer just in these quotes. Like I didn't need to read that, and I think anyone actually paying attention to the lyrics of the song could have
You kind of already know that.
pretty much
yeah.
established. Oh, this is his perspective on this.
Yeah.
I kind of love that he's just like not messing around. He's like, all right, guys,
Yeah.
let's get things figured out here.
Yep.
Let's like get it in line. And the wordplay is just great. Zen
So
and
good.
xenophobia. Like
Oh, yeah. Goes together so well.
chef's kiss.
Yeah, I have nothing clever to say after that. Let's move on to track 4. We Own the Skies. God, I love that guitar line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so good.
This is one of my faves from this record.
Same.
Not my favorite, but has always been up there. And I got to talk about it whenever we talked to Leonore. She asked about those moments, and there's just like, I love the verses so much. But I mentioned specifically, I think, where he says, "My kingdom for a steady paycheck." Just like that whole moment in the song is so good. But the first verse as well, of like, "I'm a breadwinner. I chose to brick these walls somehow," and just like the struggle that goes along with that and working a job and all your responsibilities.
Yeah,
and
but
whatnot.
also
like,
couched in this whole like almost, I don't know, ancient history, medieval kind of
yeah,
thing, you know?
Yeah.
Josh, I wrote a lyric note of that whole thing. A Trojan horse inside my chest is screaming for the life I left, my
Yes,
kingdom
I
for a
love
steady
it.
paycheck. Like,
yes, no, the way that whole verse culminates and then as it like bursts into the chorus at that moment, like
Yes.
it's all so good. And I do want to mention, I love how they have the guitars set up in the verses, because you have the one guitar playing the chord progression with the bass and the drums, and then you have the other guitar just like play that chord and it just rings out
yep.
while the other chords change under it. And I love that. Like one's ringing out and holding while the others are changing and more
Jumping
rhythmic.
into the
Yeah,
next
it's
section.
just
Yep.
cool.
It is. I'm glad you mentioned that because I hadn't really parsed that out. I liked that moment but couldn't articulate why. So I appreciate you pointing my ears to the two different guitars kind of playing on each other a little bit. Yeah, this is probably my third favorite, I think, on the record.
Maybe mine too.
so do you think this song? Well, I mean, okay, there's a lot of similar imagery across the record.
Yes.
Of winter and
Yes.
fire,
Darkness,
and cities and stuff.
night.
Cold night. Yep.
This one to me felt the most like the inspiration for the artwork.
I could see either this one against the Sea of Troubles or Dark and Stormy Night. I could see like any of the three of those being
I have
the reference
completely
point.
two other options that I would say.
Oh, dang.
What do you got?
Well, okay, well, this one for
I'll
me
talk
was
about on
like,
those.
Okay.
you know, he specifically talks about like cities.
That's true. There is a city. It's kind of
Yeah.
rubble in the
Right.
artwork.
Which makes sense. But then tonight we burn the wintry frost of night.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. This one to me specifically felt like the most inspirational. Well, we'll have to ask Mike, who we're going
Yep.
to talk to. So
We sure will.
That's true.
We're going to get to the bottom of it. But I like that we can theorize first. That's fun.
for sure.
Yeah, this is just a really triumphant song, but it's not like smug, you know? Like it does feel like earned triumph.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's still like, I don't know. It's still like you're still dealing with, like, it's not like I have arrived. I I am
Yes.
now triumphant, but
It's
it's,
in
like
process.
it's in the process of it, which is very inspiring and very relatable.
Yeah.
The end of the song is like one of my favorite moments on the record, and the transition again. We've talked about a couple great transitions on this album. The transition of the end of this song
Stark transition.
into the next one.
Yeah.
I love because it just drops out to those a cappella harmonies. Tonight we own the skies, and it's just like kind of naked vocals in the best way, and then it drops down into this like kind of sludgy, funky song, and I love that contrast. It's so good.
You got triumphant, and then it just took you right down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is also the shortest song on the record. Which,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's
Wow.
under 3 minutes, the only 2-minute one, which all the songs on here are pretty economic. I feel
Yeah.
like they're just like in and out and boom, 3 minutes and you're done.
Yeah.
I knew Kylan was going to enjoy.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. 10 out of 10, no notes. Although it's still kind of a long record. I would cut something.
A song?
And
Okay.
we'll get into it.
Okay.
So you have hit one of your favorite songs, Kylan, right?
Correct.
Did you say Zen was also one of yours?
Zen
or-
is one of mine.
Okay, so
Yep.
so y'all have two favorites, and that's one of yours.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to track number 5, Someone Else's Problem.
You wanna close your eyes, you wanna make believe it's tangled. Where you live is nowhere near the place you sleep, while other people's lives are cheap. And all of this is someone else's problem.
This is the song I would cut.
No way.
Yeah, we've talked
Really?
about this so much on the show.
I know, but I
just,
think this redeems some of the more egregious moments that we've covered on the show. To me, it does. So, but I want to hear from you.
No,
What-
it's specifically the whole like reggae rhythm. We
Yeah.
talked like I cannot connect with it.
But can you at least appreciate that Reese decided to just sing like Reese?
Yeah.
Because that was the main thing I was thinking the whole time listening to this song on this listen through. I was just like, all right, cool. Steve Taylor, please take some notes. This is how you do like white boy, skanky, reggae rock.
Right.
That's true.
This is how you do this.
I also want to say, if we can go back in time, I've just been listening to the edit of that episode. It's aired already, but for me, I take Steve Taylor doing a reggae song as seriously as Weird Al doing a reggae song. So that's that was the
fascinating.
lens that I was viewing when Steve Taylor went
funny
reggae. I'm like,
perspective.
this is
Okay.
basically just Weird Al for me,
Right,
Doing a
right.
reggae song, which I wouldn't bat an eye to.
right,
So,
right.
yeah.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah,
I can
just wanna-
appreciate
I didn't
that.
mention it in the episode because I didn't think of it then, but just to
Right.
clarify.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I like thinking about it that way.
It's not even for me. It's not even it's not egregious on the level of Steve Taylor doing it. Like it doesn't feel like appropriation. This feels like more like classic like ska.
Yeah.
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 But the
Just some skanky rock.
I can't
it
get into
stands out because it's the only one. Like the rest of the album is rock with horns.
Super
This is
straight
more
ahead rock.
reggae ska, and it's
Yes.
the only.
Okay, so
one
maybe
like
I
that.
still do hate ska, guys. I think
This
I
one
think I
song
do.
was all Kylan needed to get some serious ska fatigue.
Yes, for sure.
Kylan, I'll join
skip this
you. Obviously, I like the message of the song.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
think it's done well. I think Reese has he writes well and everything like that. Musically, this is my least favorite. I have never been like, if I'm listening to this record, I'm never like, let me throw on someone else's problem.
It's not the one you're going
Because
to.
one,
Right.
it stands out, and I am not crazy into reggae. So
Yeah. It's because we're too white and from Texas. We can't.
It's true. It's true.
Like reggae's not for us.
no.
And we don't smoke weed, so it's like just everything
We're out
about.
on that's three. That's three. Right
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
We're out
Yep,
on. Yep.
You're
we're
0 for
just
3.
out.
I think like this song gives the horn players an opportunity to get really like nasty and mean in a way that they don't get to on those
Yeah.
straight ahead rock songs. And so there's some space for them to kind of get flabby
Yeah.
and weird and have some attitude.
But here's
And
the thing.
I like that. Like I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
I'm a big jazz
Yeah,
guy, Kylan. You know, like the horns in like weird New Orleans jazz, like really kind of they light my fire, baby. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's where this song works for me is like the weird, nasty horn performances that I'm
I
just
get that.
That's
valid.
odd. I don't know if I
Yeah.
should, if I get to like that, or if I should be liking that.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna admit that I do, and that's
There you go. I always interpreted
Put my-
this as like the song that was like the throwback to the fans that would be like, "You guys aren't ska anymore." And they're like,
Yes.
Right.
here's a song for you."
Here's one.
Like,
Right.
Yeah. Scott was probably like feverishly writing the rest of the album, and he was like, "Oh wait,
I gotta do something to
I
balance
gotta
it.
slow
Yeah.
things down and get kind of sludgy.
Yeah.
Something they can skank to. What do we do? I'll write this,
Yeah.
and it'll be somebody else's problem."
Oh,
To describe.
Yeah.
it'll be Kylan's problem.
It
Listen to
is
it.
my problem, and I would cut this song.
I probably don't disagree with you.
Okay.
My
That's
least
fair.
favorite.
I've got a different one I'd cut. I like those nasty horns. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
here's the
the words
thing
are
with the
fine.
nasty.
We
horn-
can make a
th-
T-shirt
There's
that's
another
like
song.
TJ's a nasty horn boy.
Ooh.
gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, I know. You just got to add a Y on there. Okay. So let's move
That's
on.
out of context.
I just
You
want to say,
know it.
I did like the idea of not going back to the chorus at the end because they kind of just like let the music play out. And I said the longer outro lets you groove / think about the ramifications of your place in the first world.
Ooh.
So you get to do a little bit of both.
Yeah,
but
some
I do like
little
the not
reflection.
going back into that last chorus and just the bass is fun, like doom boom boom boom. But yeah,
Wait, can
Overall-
you do that again? Can we get that clean, Josh?
it is clean. We're on separate channels.
All right, fine. Let's move on to track number 6. I Am Jack's Smirking Revenge.
If you change your mind here and now with the rising tide, if you change your mind, cast your nets on the other side.
Okay. As I feel like the resident high school edgelord, I feel like I should maybe be given the floor for a second to talk
How
about
did I
this.
know? How did I know this was going to be the first thing that would happen on this song?
It only feels appropriate.
Yeah, right.
Do you need the
okay.
soapbox edgelord?
I don't think I need the soapbox, but okay.
All right.
This is the beginning for me of a great run of songs lyrically.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that do not know, I Am Jack Smirking Revenge is of course a reference to Fight Club, the novel by Chuck Palahniuk, who I was a massive fan of in high school, and the movie directed by David Fincher. So I fucking love this song because it's all references to Fight Club, which is great in and of itself. But what I love about it is the fact that, first off, Fight Club in and of itself was satire. And then there is a whole entire generation of people that watched the movie Fight Club and completely missed the point.
Yeah,
And I
they thought
feel
it
like
was like a life manifesto.
that has to be what Reese is talking about in this song.
I think there's definitely a nod to that for sure.
I mean, I think the entire song is about that because it's all references to Fight Club. Like even like
Right.
you're not the contents of your wallet, you're not the space you rent. Even the winter of our discontent is a Shakespeare thing that was a big part of Fight Club.
I didn't know that was Shakespeare actually.
And then so it ties it back even to like the beginning,
Right.
but then also the whole Fight Club thing. Like, and then at the very end, he says, "Win it all, but something's missing. Maybe drank the wrong Kool-Aid." And I just got so stoked because as someone that is a fan of Chuck Palahniuk and of Fight Club and of the movie, and as someone that I will 100% admit when I first watched it in high school, also completely missed the point. But as I've grown older, have kind of recognized that and rectified that. And to continually see people kind of miss the point, I can see the frustration of like where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And so utilizing all of these reference points from this pop culture thing to like also talk about the hypocrisy once again of missing the point of all of it and being so frustrated. I relate so hard to that. Like TJ, like you and I have talked about that, like being Rick and Morty fans kind of sucks. like being a white dude that's into Rick and Morty sucks because it feels like people that are fans of Rick and Morty kind of fucking ruin it.
Yep.
And Fight Club was the previous generation of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just like live action and a little grittier, but
Right.
pretty much the same thing.
Well, and I want to continue what you're talking about. Kind of, I love the idea of pairing Fight Club and all of its ideas and either setting it in contrast, but then at the same time you're kind of comparing it to like discipleship and following Jesus, because he uses a lot of things from the Bible. Like he says,
casting the nets.
someone said the first shall be the last. See you on the streets tonight. Like, and there's a lot of that of like, you thought this was like, it's easy to fall into, you think Fight Club is about this thing, or you think like the Bible or the gospel is about this, but it's actually about this. And I don't know, I love that juxtaposition of like a Fight Club and then also like being a disciple of Jesus, but then it's not really what you think it's about. There's more to it. It's
it goes back to
and-
Zen and the Art of Xenophobia. Like, he's just pissed off at everybody for missing the fucking point of everything.
Right.
Which I get. Like, I fully relate to. And this, like, it really clicked in for me starting with this song.
But he's doing it so thoughtfully and tastefully, even in his frustration. He's like, he's able to use these analogies and like this imagery so effectively to make a point that people, you know, have needed to hear for a long time in each one of these songs.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yep, I do love the line, if you change your mind, cast your nets on the other side.
Right,
That's so
yeah.
good in the chorus. And I do really like, there's a sweet guitar part in the second verse. I will say, I'll introduce it now, but they do a really good job of adding cool things in the second verses to make things more interesting as the song goes on.
Super appreciate
You'll
that.
hear me mention more of that on the episode. And then I love, we get the second pre-chorus where it says, whose lips have you been kissing and stuff. And you get some more Leonore Vox peppered in there and just more of those, please. I just love like having the harmonies come in and having like, you can barely hear her, but you're like, I think that's her in there.
It's
like,
such a good texture.
It is so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It lifts the whole thing.
Yep.
And I love that change your mind refrain over and over. If you change your mind, it's kind of slinky, like the delivery of it, but it just, it pounds home the point, you know, like, and it almost feels like getting punched in the face over and over again.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
But in a good way somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. This is fun kind of because I think I've always, which I'd seen Fight Club before meeting you, but, and not that I like equate you as like the Fight Club guy in my life or whatever, but every time I like heard this song, I was like, I bet Kylan would really like this song because he likes Fight Club.
Yeah. But I think for the same reasons that Reese does. And once it's so frustrating that people like miss the point, but like I get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that you resonate so much with this song. It's like, I don't know, it's fun to have a moment where like separate from Josh and I, who in our own rights like love this album, you came to this song kind of fresh and you were able to be like, oh, this is awesome. This is everything.
Yeah.
This resonates with me hard. And it's what, track 6?
Track 6.
Like that is also exciting because it's like deep into the album. And a lot of times, Kylan, like we have these episodes where we're covering albums and you're like, yeah, I was really excited about the first 3 tracks, but then
I lost steam.
Right. Yeah.
so like here to have this one be like yours, you're owning it. You're like, track
Right.
6, this rules. That's cool. I'm like stoked about that. This is really fun.
I don't know if I mentioned, this is maybe my 4th or 5th favorite song on here. This is a high one for me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really high for me. It's not my other favorite, but
But it's up there.
it is up there. Yeah,
Right on.
it's pretty good. All right, guys. Let's try to start a fire with track number 7 to start a fire.
Something to believe in, to only be inspired. To touch it off to cinders, to only build a fire.
I love the horn line.
Keeping that energy live. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they come right out of the gate with the horns on this one, which is cool. That was another thing I noticed on the first 2 tracks, that kind of like more mature sounding subgenre of like rock with horns, like we've been saying. The first 2 tracks really evoke that, but then some of these others later in the album, they're getting back to their roots with like the horn lines being the major musical material and like melodic lines. Like the horn lines are the major melodic lines, and they're really leading the song and forming the song, which is fun because if you can write a rock song with horns where the horns get to kind of be the main players, like it means you're doing something right.
And at a great point in the record, because this had like, we kind of referenced it earlier of like, this is hard rock with horns, but then they come in at the right part, like exactly the right point, or you have kind of forgotten about them, and then they're like featured again, and you're like, oh hell yeah, like I love it, it. It's so good.
It comes back in and kind of revives you. You're like, all right, we got plenty of energy left in this album. Where a lot of times you get a slump,
Yep.
This is where, okay, so I talked about, I think there are 2 songs that are the main crux of the theme of this record. And this is the first one. And I'm just now realizing that it's the beginning and the end of side B is what these 2 are. And some context for this record is that, and what I think some of the lyrics deal with is that, so Five Iron has always been a very blatantly Christian band. Maybe you could say even like kind of ministry focused and whatnot. But then Scott left the band, and maybe it's because he was becoming or had become an atheist. I don't know, but
there's a faith shift.
Yeah, but there's a faith shift. So he comes back and he's an atheist now, and it's a lot of what they've had to deal with is like, okay, well, like we've always been pretty like gospel and like very outwardly Christian, but how do we balance that with like now that we have him and Andy, 2 members that don't hold to the faith anymore? Like, how do we represent all of us now? And I really like this song because this one is, or I like the words and the themes of this song. It's because it's Reese talking about like how to deal with that friendship of like you lose Scott as like a brother in Christ, but like rekindling to start a fire to rekindle your friendship amidst that difference. And like, how do we go about that? Like 1, personally, and then 2, like as a band, and how do we present that to the fans and stuff? So I really love that you get 1 and you get Reese's perspective here, and then you get Scott's later in the record. I've always viewed that as like, that's kind of that was one of the bigger themes with this record. I like that it handles that really well.
I love that too, and I think that's one more reason that I was so endeared to this album, because they were kind of confronting a tricky situation, and one that was like very vulnerable to them and like important. Like it's the core of the band, right? Like, how are we going to be able to keep doing this? And the fact that they didn't just call it quits and let the differences or the bygones, get in the way. Like they really did like find a way to light that fire and like keep it kindled of their friendship, their bandmatedom.
Matehood.
That's not a word.
Bandmatehood.
Bandmatehood. That's good. But I so respect them. Like I think I'm just like in awe of any band that's able to make it through a long, run of years and years and years, regardless of their like faith situation or whether they're representing a certain thing to a group of fans, but especially for a band like Five Iron who wants to be very authentic, very genuine, very honest with their fans, and then also has some conflict and or just differing views. And I respect it so much.
Well, not to put us on the same level, but like, I mean, that's kind of like our whole thing too, like,
right. True. Yeah.
Like we're all in very different places in terms of that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it takes work, and maybe we get that on a certain level. Like, it's like, you got to show up and just like be present and be
exactly
like kind and understanding and
it isn't
open-minded.
Like, exactly. And it's just cool that like a band with like, so like, I can't keep that kind of peace with people that I'm directly related to.
Right.
So
hard.
it's like
it's a big ask.
It's cool that like so many people that are in this band are able to
And do it voluntarily too. Like
Yeah.
they're
Right.
choosing to do it. Not
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they just have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it shows. I was actually telling some friends about this episode that we're doing tonight. I was like talking about Five Iron and why I appreciated them, and I was talking about this very thing and how I'm really excited to be covering this album because it's them putting that on a silver platter and sharing it with the fans and saying, "Hey, this has been kind of tough, but we really care about this. We really care about each other. We really care about you, and we want to keep doing it." I think it's amazing. Like it's inspiring,
It's
honestly.
pretty rad.
Like I don't care how hokey that sounds. Like I mean it
No, it's great.
completely.
It's great.
It
It's
is
so
great.
good.
It's so rad.
You know what's not great
Gets me
though?
grinning.
what's not great?
Don't like the woes in the choruses.
Oh, you don't?
Don't like
Oh
them.
man,
They
I think
feel
they're
like-
kind of fun.
They feel like the most obvious like
It is, yeah.
choice
They
there.
could have gone with a lot of other things.
Yeah, like
I agree
it's
with
catchy in a it's catchy in the most obvious worst way, and so I have struggled with this song to be like previously be like I don't really like the song, but listening to it I do like this song a lot. It's really just the woes in the choruses.
So quick, like co-write session. Reese sits down and is like, "You know what, Josh? We're gonna recut this song and do a re-release of the record. What would you put in place of the woes?"
I would first try having the horns do that same melody. Maybe yeah, maybe do have the horns there or something. But I don't know. The woes just I don't know. I think it's a woe is like something that's like quick or whatever. When you're doing whoa, like that's too long for a woe. You need some words or you need some instrumental or something, maybe. But I don't know. I do like the woes and the bridge. I do like those, but the chorus woes.
All right, you heard it
are
here
a miss
first.
from me.
Josh likes some bridge woes.
Like those bridge woes, baby.
Like
Not
those
some chorus
bridge
woes.
woes.
Those bridge woes, though.
Well, I don't even know how to transition into the next track after that.
I mean,
Here's track 8, Battle Dancing Unicorns with Glitter.
Let's get this straight. Oh yeah, we are the champions. We'll be battle dancing unicorn. Oh yes, battle dancing unicorns.
Okay. I didn't even realize till like literally a second ago that this is the most streamed song on this record.
give a song a goofy title and it'll get all kinds of streams.
And as someone who doesn't have much context for this record, I do want to get y'all's opinion on this song. But I do also have to say I have a lot to say about this song.
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
We can get out of the way quick.
can't wait.
then, Yeah. Dude, would you like to start off, TJ?
Go
or
for
you
it,
want me
Josh.
to?
That's all you.
Let's see. What do I have? I mean, this feels like the obligatory, like, silly 5-iron song.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Back to their old form.
And I'm not mad about it. I will say I liked this song a lot more when this album came out, and I still enjoy it a lot, but I don't think it's maybe up to the same level of, like, comedic cleverness that some previous 5-iron stuff is. So,
Buddy, I disagree.
Oh, you
Wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. But I will say, I do like some of the lines like, we're hip hopping and we can't quite stop. That's funny. And I do think the bridge sums it up well of, to be what I just can't, impale myself upon the horns. I'm fighting just to be relevant. I'm battle dancing unicorns. So that's kind of my quick synopsis.
Quick question. I think this might be for our trivia lord, Kylan. Did and we can't stop and we won't stop. Had that come out at this point?
Yes.
Great. So it's party rock anthem, right? Direct. It's referencing that, and then Miley,
Yep.
right? Okay. So that's why I liked it, because I was like, man, Reese is like really digging into the kiddo culture. I feel like he's older than us, you know, and it's like so funny that he's just like, I'm going to play with all these like weird little pop culture things that I don't quite understand, but I'm still going to like throw my hat in the ring and play with these
No,
pop culture
that's
references.
the whole fucking point of the
Yes.
song, which
Right,
is why this is
exactly.
my other favorite song, but
Yep.
solely based on context. Solely
Right.
like you listen to this song on its own, it's fucking stupid.
It is very goofy.
But at this point in the record, 8 songs in, you have been okay. I'm so excited.
Jammer's Kylan is stoked
I'm
right
sorry.
now. He's grinning ear to ear.
Like
The murder basement is glowing right now.
it really
How
is.
excited Kylan is.
It's a unicorn basement now, y'all.
Oh, there's so much glitter.
It's everywhere.
He did bring out the glitter. You're
I
seeing
did
this
bring
right
out the
yeah,
glitter.
yeah.
Yes.
Get it off the camera. We can't see you, man.
Oh, sorry guys. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the context of this record, this being track 8 is fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Zen and the Art of Xenophobia and you have I Am Jack Smirking Revenge. I was fully prepared to hate this song. And like I said, without the context of the rest of the record,
Right.
it would be very easy to. Because you could just write this off as Reese trying to connect to a younger audience or whatever.
Right.
But because you've seen the satire that has come before it,
Yes.
you are fully prepped for the massive eye rolling that is happening throughout these lyrics.
While he
of,
delivers
like,
each line.
I
Yep.
just love, absolutely love the idea that, you know, he's like a 40-something dude
Mm-hmm.
who has a band that has specifically been kind of labeled as like a silly band. And you can tell he's angry about a lot of shit. And he's able to use his platform to like talk about real stuff. Like even from our newest album ever. Like they were
Oh, yeah.
talking about real shit. Like, you know, we talked about that with Leonore on Blue Comb 78, like how that's actually like a really deeply personal song. And then everyone just kind of is like, oh, we're going to bring Blue Combs to
Blue
Five
Combs.
Iron shows.
For your
Which
childhood
hilarious.
trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And then, what was the other big one from our newest album ever?
Are you
That
thinking of Sucker Punch?
no, not big in terms of Banner Year is what I'm thinking
Oh,
of.
yeah. Right. Yep.
Where it's like, okay, I like actually want to talk about real shit,
Something serious. Yeah.
but there's this younger audience that I'm like trying to connect to,
Mm-hmm.
but also kids are fucking stupid. And it just,
Yep.
it feels like a little bit of, I don't know, it just felt very real to me.
Mm.
Because it starts with shut your face, high school jerks. And then immediately is like, are we cool? Laser beams, which I just want to start using in my everyday life.
As like a retort. Laser beams.
like if I have an altercation with someone, like, hey, are we cool?
Laser beams.
That's good.
Um,
I like that.
but then, yeah, like to be what I just can't impale myself upon the horns. I'm fighting just to be relevant. And, you know, this is coming after like years of like our generation was, you know, ninjas versus pirates. Like, everything's so random. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like there's this whole thing of like, I'm trying to stay relevant, but I don't understand this culture. And it feels
So
like,
you think this song is him admitting, like just knowing full well, like I'm out of touch and I'm going to
100%.
lean into how silly it would be for me to write a song trying to pretend like I am connected
yeah,
to the youth.
Yeah, I definitely
right.
think
It's
that.
like,
That's my
yeah,
take
like
on it.
if we're
Totally.
because
I interpret it as
we,
an eye roll song.
right. And we talked about that in the He Is Legend episode of like, or no, sorry, we talked about it with Aaron of like the lose situation of how
Mm-hmm.
everyone says they want you to like remain the same, but if you
Yeah.
actually remain the same,
Then you're boring.
no one actually likes that.
you
And
get
this
lost.
is totally
Yeah.
like a response to that and like trying to figure out where that line is.
Right. It's
And
Five
doing
Iron doing a parody of Five Iron.
Yes, exactly. And doing
Yep.
it in such an over-the-top manner.
But I also think at the same time, out of one side of his mouth, that's what he's doing. And then out of the other side of his mouth, he's like, "No, we're gonna have some like unicorn costumes and glitter on stage when we play this
Right,
live.
yeah,
and
yeah.
we're gonna do it up, and it's gonna be a blast. And it's gonna be the silliest, goofiest song."
And also,
And
like,
that's,
yeah,
again,
we are
what I love,
professors
the
at Robot
dichotomy.
Spy College. Like
Yes.
it literally feels like
Moronic,
Mad Libs, like
bionic.
Mad Libs of like stupid
Yes.
shit.
Completely.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Like, yeah, he definitely phrases everything and like picks stuff to seem like to be cool, but have it not land in it. That is the point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
He knows
I
full
know
well.
this isn't landing, but that's the point. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's genius, guys.
Which is, it's
It
a bold
is-
move.
It
right?
is-
And
it
that's
is
what
like
they're about. That's
Steve
what,
Taylor
that's kind of their whole
esque in
thing.
terms of like
That's true.
like it's a very Steve Taylor thing of like, okay, let me take this expectation and I'm gonna still do that. And there's probably a good portion of the audience that will just take it at face value.
Yeah.
But I'm actually talking about this like much deeper thing.
And it's like if you get the context, like you're saying, then you can appreciate it on all the levels. And if you can't, then that's okay too.
Yeah. Then it's still a fun song to.
Yeah, it's still a song about
Enjoy.
battle dancing
Yeah.
unicorns, which is great.
Yeah, like I said, out of context, it's so fucking stupid. Like it's so dumb. But given the context, it's genius. It's so good. It's so good, guys. Like
I love this
this
read on
might be
it.
my
Yeah.
favorite Five Iron Frenzy song
Wow.
Oh, nice.
I've heard,
That's so cool.
which is so
But you couldn't
funny.
just like show it to just like one, like you couldn't just show it to someone. You'd have to be like, but I have to like show you the rest
No,
of the
I have
Five
to
Iron
do
catalog.
the-
You
the
get
like
the context.
the Charlie Day Pepe Sylvia thing that I'm doing right
Conspiracy
now
wall.
Yep.
Yep. Right.
to explain why I love it. And that
Yep.
that's why it's my second favorite. It's my favorite within context.
Got you.
Okay.
Because I could
makes
also
sense.
I could just show anybody Zen and the Art of Xenophobia and be like, this song is great. I think people would immediately get it. I think this is not an immediately get it song.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah, and you know, I once again could completely be speculating, talking out my ass. But I feel like given that song and I Am Jack Smirking Revenge, the way that I just felt like I was on Reese's wavelength by the time this song showed up
Right.
to quote unquote get it.
Yeah.
So rad.
And, you know, like I would love one day to talk to him about it and be like, all right, Kylan's going to give you his theory on this and just see. He's like, yep, that was it to a T. I would love that.
Yeah. Okay.
And he'd be
All
like,
right.
you want to watch Fight Club, Kylan?
What's the first rule
I'm sorry.
of
I'm
Fight
gonna
Club?
I'm gonna put the soapbox away. I didn't mean to, but it's just
I'm
I
glad
don't
you
know.
did.
This was
I love
this
a
was
positive
just so
soapbox, you know?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
so good.
I enjoyed
We don't
that.
get those often.
this was so new to me. And it
Right.
was like at this point that I was like, oh, okay, I get the 5-iron thing. Like I
Yep.
get it. Like I
Yeah,
fully get it.
Yeah. Well, I think they also got it to a high degree on this album. Like they got what they were. They like really, really locked it in on this album without playing my hand too much.
Oh, wow. I wonder what it could be, TJ.
No.
All
It's
right.
near and dear record to you. It's on thin ice.
What could I possibly think about this? at
I don't
this
know,
point
TJ.
in the
I feel
game?
like you just want to inject this record directly into your veins.
Oh,
That's
we go.
fair. I do. I would.
Track
if I could.
9, Into Your Veins.
I think we could probably liquefy it.
Do you think?
I think we could.
Your vinyl?
Yeah, probably.
You're taking one for the team, Josh.
I'll just get a new one from Collide Records.
Ooh, that's not even an ad. Off the cuff.
This to me does what you were saying, TJ, on the other song that I didn't like. These are some nasty horns.
They are.
This is my favorite
probably
horn
the
line in
second
the whole record.
best example of that, where they get to get a little nasty and have some attitude. In my book, I love it. It's great. And they lead the song again, which is kind of like the old school 5-iron go-to, you know, like horn line at the top, which is really cool. Feels kind of nostalgic and familiar. Like, oh, this could have been on our newest album ever. I really feel like this song could have in a lot of ways. It's maybe a little more...
It's a little grittier, though.
Yeah,
And like more rockin', which is good that it's on this record.
And that bass is a little higher in the mix than it would have been.
Yep, it is.
And that's a great thing. I love that.
May I have the floor?
Please.
Of course. Please, sir.
Okay. This is my favorite song.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
Nice,
Okay.
dude. Tell us why.
My notes, I have bullets in all caps. It says love, and then I just have 7 points of all the things I love about this song.
Amazing.
For why it's my favorite.
Let's go.
The horn line, as we previously mentioned, so good. The verse, melody, and cadence. And
Yes.
just that first verse of just like him singing and that electric guitar, like chugging along,
Yeah.
like
Just pushing
I
things.
love it. I love it. And like there's so many words in the verses, and like it's like what we were talking about with the Steve Taylor thing and your Edgar Wright analogy. You're like, there's a lot of like thought and smarts going into this, but I don't need to dissect all of it to enjoy it. I can just know that it's smart and well put together,
Yep.
and let it wash over me. And
Yes.
that is maybe the peak way to enjoy it. So that's how I've always approached the lyrics to this song, because there's a lot and they're all like really engaging and interesting, but you don't have to like get in there on all of them. The whole second like post chorus, how they have like a surprise, we have like a second chorus to our chorus. It's longer. The you're going down hard, you're going down fast. Love that part.
Yes.
Okay.
Super hooky.
This is genius here. The robotic repeating of the first verse under the bridge.
Is that what it is? Because I've never caught that. That's what
it's
what
the first
those
verse,
robotic
but
lyrics
yes,
are.
yes, I am a dealer of words. I sell it right back to you.
That's
Yes.
so good.
It's so good. I love it.
I didn't
so
realize
much.
those were the lyrics that were happening there.
It's the first verse
And
over
I
again.
love that
Yep.
so much.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's genius. I said chef's kiss. And the call and response of the oohs and the guitars and the bridge and the ahs that come in the last chorus to like fill stuff out. Like it's the last chorus and they're still bringing new stuff in. You have like Reese doing it's in and out in 3 minutes. This was the first song they made a music video. Just them like a performance video of them in like a warehouse, and like I heard this song, I watched it, and I was like, never like really cared much about 5-iron, but I was like, I think I should pay attention to this record, and it came out, and it was amazing, and it's still my favorite song all these years later. And I will say the original demo from Scott, that's on his SoundCloud of Yellow Second, is called No Reaction, and it's honestly rockin' too. So it worked in the original demo phase, and it works in the final phase. But that's my favorite song. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I love
Good
it.
song. Well, hey, you didn't even talk about the Sweet Caroline. Steve McQueen.
Oh my God. I love. Yeah, that verse is great.
This is a
The
firing
whole
line.
verse
This
is
is
I
awesome.
could do
Sweet
that
Caroline.
for all of the
This is a
lyrics.
slot
Yeah.
machine. This is a prison camp minus any Steve McQueen. That line, I'm
'Cause he's
so
already
mad.
escaped, I guess.
Yeah,
Or he's in the cooler.
I'm so mad about that line. It's so good.
You're mad you didn't write it.
Right? Like you guys ever just like get mad
completely.
at lines?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. No, yeah, this song is great. I feel like it's got some layers that you can either dig into or not. Kind of like
Yeah.
you're saying, like you can let them just kind of wash over you and it works, or you can chew on them a little bit and
Right.
engage with the lyrics a little more.
Well,
and
that's
fun,
why I'm
too.
so glad we covered this so shortly after Steve Taylor.
Yeah, me too.
Because it is a really kind of similar thing of like,
Right.
like you can just vibe along. And like Josh was saying, like just recognize that this is smart and cool.
Right.
And you can care or not care.
Yeah, and it's zany and witty, and yeah,
Right.
you get to choose how to engage with it.
Yeah, your level of engagement.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. It's great.
I like that it's your favorite too, Josh, because like it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but like it's always just one that I'm like I enjoy this. But you've made a solid case for it, man.
Yeah, you
I
really
love
have.
It's
You-
great.
You're kind of
It's in
bumping
and
it
out.
up in my
Solid.
queue.
I
like
know,
Yeah.
dude. I'm like, I was constantly surprised by this. And it's usually at this point in a record where I'm like, where it kind of loses steam, but it like picks back up in a really interesting way.
You mean it, DJ? It
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
was.
Picks it up.
There it
It's
is.
like, if
there
he
it
not,
is.
Mhm.
All
Has
right.
to.
All right, guys. Track number 10. It was a dark and stormy night.
I've been waiting in half-hearted sleep for a promise I have meant to keep. Just for hoping that hope still flies, wipe the sleep out of our sleeping eyes.
This is my other favorite song.
Oh, nice. Why?
Nice.
Not to be basic, but because it is the other single. But oh my god, I think it's like
But did you experience it as like when they first announced we're getting back together? Here's our first song back in 9 years.
and it was every new day again. And like I loved that song and still do. Like it will always have a special place in my heart. Like it's this great kind of finale moment. And like I don't mind that this isn't the last track on this album. I'll go ahead and just play my hand that I think it would have been a great closer because it's very anthemic, it's cathartic, it's huge. It has a lot of dynamic up and down that really works and just kind of it would round the album out really well.
Mhm.
I don't mind the track list the way it is, so I got no complaints with it, but I sort of feel like it's this spiritual successor to Every New Day in a way. Because there's like, a little bit of conflict in there, but there's like a lot of hope and I just love it. I think it's like Reese at his kind of most authentic and optimistic at the same time, right? We've had so much sort of like angst and anger and frustration and critique across this album. We've had some silliness.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of references and things. But this to me is just kind of a straight across, like, hopeful song in the face of, challenging odds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just really resonate with those kinds of tunes, especially from a band like Five Iron that has a lot of great energy, both in the studio and live. And I think this is a banger. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it makes it hit even more when you consider like this was their first song back, and they're like, "We're gonna give this a go again."
Exactly.
And like Reese saying, "Here's to hoping, hope still flies," and you're like, that's like them putting their whole band into one line.
Yes.
Like, that's like we're gonna give this a shot again.
It's their little
Let's
thesis.
hope it works out.
Yes.
Like,
And
Yeah.
again, it's that same kind of vulnerability like we were talking about where Reese is like sharing his perspective on like, okay, let's believe in this friendship. Like Scott's back. We're going to like make this work and it's going to be beautiful. But like our fingers are crossed and we don't know what the future holds. And that's really like, I just think that's amazing. Like who wouldn't want to support that and kind of be a part of that journey and like cheer them on,
yeah,
So I think as a fan, it like hits me right in my heart and I'm just very, like I get emotional about it and I want hope to still fly, for them, for everyone, for the direction of our culture, for the world at large. Like, I want that. And yeah, it seems like a great thesis for the album because there's, the darkness and death and rubble, but there's also like the light at the center of the album art. And that's to me like the hope. It's the band, like you're saying, crossing their fingers and going, we hope this works.
yeah.
Until this shakes apart,
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I don't know. I love the moment at the end of the song too, that or toward the end where it's like I think I've got a time code. I don't. But it's the I know hope has not forgotten me, and then it drops down to the solo piano moment with just Reese and the vocals. I've been waiting in half-hearted sleep, and that even is so tender and like intimate. And you're really hearing, I think, like that hope that Reese has, but it's also so, fragile. It's that tiny spark, that tiny candle that could light the bonfire and turn into a burning blaze, but it could also just as easily go out. So that moment to me feels really precious, and then it explodes.
And that like
back
encapsulates the idea, even to like it distills it even further too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
sonically.
I really like that. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that one.
TJ loves
It
the
hits me where it
sincere
needs it to.
bops.
I do, man. I do. But it's also just
You
a
love
great
the
song.
writing cliches. 'Twas a dark and stormy night.
It's true. Yeah. But that line, the melody, I've been waiting in half-ardent sleep. That's so catchy.
Mm-hmm.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's like very sweet sounding and also works like as like a punk rock anthem.
Right.
Big and huge. Da, 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 da. Like if you want to get bombastic with it, you can. I think a good melody, a sign of good melody is that it can work on that kind of low, tender, intimate level,
Yeah.
and it can also be huge and like have a lot of like energy behind it and still work. That's why
Dude,
it's my favorite.
I love that.
One of my favorites.
It's all on the back half of the record for us.
Oh yeah,
That's wild.
True.
True.
The back half is strong.
They got a strong side
It
B,
really
man.
is.
What can we say?
Yeah.
I don't want to
really is.
detract from any of this, TJ, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. But to me, I feel like I can always hear a little bit that this song was like not recorded at the same time as the rest of the record. Like it sounds a
Completely.
little different.
Yeah, the production does like kind of call to your attention that the fact that it's an outlier.
Right.
Especially
Especially
at
did
the
it like a
end.
year or two before.
There's a little like cut of a guitar or something, and there's like a split where the amp kind of makes a little buzz.
Oh, yeah?
And you notice that there's like somebody didn't like fade the track quite right, but I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's a little different.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just pokes out at me in a way that I don't mind, because there's nothing like sort of offensive to the ear about the difference in the production.
No, it's just when you hear the record and then this comes, you can tell the difference.
Yes,
but
completely.
Yeah, on its own,
Completely.
there's nothing wrong with it, like the mix or the
Right.
recording of it. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the production treatment, it does feel
Okay.
You can tell that
Just
it's an
like
outlier.
a little
Cool.
bit different.
Yeah, that I mean, I've always been able to notice it, but I still do like the song.
Yeah, and I think it there is a side of it that was experiential. You know, when the announcement dropped and this song.
Sure,
came out, I
yeah,
was
of
like,
course.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's partly wrapped up in mine too. So
Totally
as it is,
nostalgia.
I do want to mention the guitar part in the second verse is very great. I can drop it right here because I don't have to sing it for you. But another example of them just like adding cool stuff as the song progresses. So there's more to unpack.
Yes. Yep. The song's evolving as it goes. It's not just the same old, same old.
I mean, this discussion of this record, it feels like an epiphany for me.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
I've
learning so
been-
much, Kylan.
I know. It's like I've seen the sun. And
You've been in darkness. It was a dark and stormy night for you these
But now
last
you've seen the sun.
33
seen the
years.
sun.
But now,
now I've seen the sun. Track number 11, I've seen the sun.
Seen the sun come down, I felt its fire burn, and in the dark of night, I hold to its return.
it's interesting how this record, like the ending of it, is sequenced. Oh, Kylan loves some
Oh,
tambourine.
I'm doing the tambo. Yeah, I
He's
love
doing
the
the
tambo.
tambourine. Yep. It's interesting to me, like, so you have Into Your Veins, and then you have It Was Dark and Stormy Night. It was just the first song they released, so it wasn't written. It was written pre this record, and then you have this song, which Dennis wrote words and music to.
Oh,
And
right.
then
Okay,
you have
who
the
sings
next-
on this song? Does Reese sing on this song?
It's re-singing.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Matt and or Toby from Emery?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
No, dude,
you would know if it was Matt.
No, I don't
No,
know.
this
okay,
does
but
feel like an Emery
this is
song
an
at
honest.
times.
That was a legitimately honest question.
Yeah. No, now that you say it, I kind of hear what you're saying. Like the theatrical kind of like over
Yes,
singing.
it totally sounds like
Yes.
Emery. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could have sworn that it was a feature, like a feature vocal. That I believe.
Mm-hmm. Bending the notes, like
Yeah.
the pitch bend at the
I heard
end.
and the way he says burn. I could have sworn it was one of the Emery guys.
That's so funny. I think again, it's like I've just always known Reese's voice. Like
Yeah.
Reese is so iconic to me sonically that I'm like, that's Reese. But now that you say the Emery thing, I'm like,
No,
oh,
I can hear
kinda
Toby. Like I can put Toby in over that.
And even the
Make it
song
work.
itself, like the kind of stalted da 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 da
Emery.
da, feels like an Emery move too. Musical theater, musical theater.
This
pop
could
punk.
totally be part of the Emery musical. We could throw in a 5 Iron song, and
It's
no
an
one would
epilogue.
know if it's this one.
It's true. But yeah, like I was saying, and then it goes back to like the last song is written by Scott. So I feel like at this point in the record, like Reese is like, I've said everything I am going to say. Now I'm going to speak for these other
Yeah,
people.
give me something else
to end
else
the
to say.
record. Yeah, so it's interesting that it's like sequences like old song, Dennis song, Scott song to me.
Yeah,
But
that is
like I don't
interesting.
think it's bad.
No,
I think
yeah.
it still works,
It's different
but
perspectives.
it's just funny like how
It's like
they
the same
sequenced it.
narrative from different perspectives.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I don't think I put that together that this was a Dennis song. So yeah, that is neat. The back to back, like Reese, Dennis, Scott, trifecta at the end.
Yeah.
And Matt and Toby.
and Matt and Toby.
and-
Don't forget about
Or
them.
Devin and Toby,
Yeah.
perhaps.
That, and it feels super Emery
I hear
to
it.
me.
Yeah, and again, we're getting that imagery of like the sun, the like the fire burning, the dark of the night, holding to the sun's return.
They also do some more cool stuff, adding stuff in the second verses at 102, where I like where they say, when he says, hit me with your bad news, there's a cool guitar part that comes in and some more ahs as well. My favorite part of the song, though, is the outro where he says, it's going to be all right. And there's a lot to learn. And they like it's kind of like jamming at that point. It's my favorite.
I do love that line though. You bring the warheads, I'm bringing ice cream. That's so good.
It's very good.
Because like
That
the,
feels like a
kind
very
of classic
TJ line.
non-violent kind of
Yeah.
folks, and they're just like silly, and they're like, "We'll bring the ice cream." I love it. Yeah, I would write that.
Yeah,
I'm
the
mad that I
left
didn't
hook
write
like
that.
a Mother Teresa too.
Mm-hmm. That's so good.
Yeah, not the left hook you deserve, but the one you need.
The one
you know,
you need.
yeah,
The one from Mother Teresa.
yeah.
We all need a little Mother Teresa left
I
hook.
think we all do.
Let's move on to the last track, Blizzards and Bygones.
Okay, what is this intro? Is it yeah yeah yeahs?
A little
Not
bit.
that part, but just the like angular guitar and the like tom beat.
Yeah. Okay. So I haven't brought this up yet, but there's a lot of this record that weirdly reminded me of like later day AFI as well. But like
Oh,
kind of the
yeah.
way that like Coconut Records reminds me of Elliott Smith.
Oh,
It's like
totally.
like
yes.
like Coconut Records is sunny, beachy Elliott Smith, which is kind of like
Yeah.
antithetical
Oh,
to the
that's
Elliott
so
to
good.
Elliott Smith, but
That description is perfect though.
there's something about it, and this is like Christian AFI, which is also like kind of antithetical, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the vibe that
Mhm.
reminds me of that.
Yeah, I could see that. There's just there's some specific intro to some sort of like kind of post
I can see the yeah
Prog rock
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
that like opening, because that guitar line is so good
Mm-hmm.
with those big boomy drums. But it
great
does also
album
remind
closer.
me of something. Yeah, it is, and that's why, like I said earlier, when I was like, I could see Dark and Stormy Night being the closer, but I'm not mad.
It's hard
about
for
this
me to
one being
imagine
the closer.
any other song closing this record.
Yeah,
than
it
this one.
totally works.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's kind of like big. It feels like a big kind of like period on the sentence of the album.
It's really cool, like, as Scott is back for his first time since our newest album ever, and he's writing all the music for it. I love, like, that he gets a chance to, like, speak, even though Reese is singing, like, it's
Right.
Scott's song, like,
Right.
that closes the record. So that feels like a cool way to, like, one, welcome Scott back and kind of, like, be like, hey, you did a lot of heavy lifting for writing this record.
Yeah.
Like, you get to, like,
What if you get to say
put the
some
final, like,
words
put the period on this record.
the end?
Which is actually a question mark.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much. Because I wanted to mention that how the album starts with mentioning a last breath, and it
Right.
ends with a question, which is it feels like a nod back to like, this is my last breath at the beginning.
Right.
It's like a fake out. Because if you're asking a question at the end, there's going to be more, right? Like the question is almost implying like, we got more in us. Like we don't know for sure, but we're crossing our fingers and we're like letting that question sit with the listener. We're letting that question sit with all of us. We're going to make it through this and see what's on the other side of this question mark. I love it. I love the choice of just leaving it open-ended.
Is this a dumb guy question? But was any of this inspired by the movie Inception? And I only think this, TJ, based on your analysis of like you said, like the first track, like floating in onto the shore. That's like literally the opening shot of Inception, right?
Yeah.
And then the very last shot is the top, the question of like
the uncertainty. Yeah.
Is
it a dream or not? Yeah. Well, and what's the line that he says to him about being old men or being young again or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know it exactly, but
it's about age and time and the nature of reality. Like,
yep.
I mean, ending with a question feels, I don't know, like the perfect way to try to maybe bridge from where they are now into whatever comes next. It also could have been their last album, so that also feels like a great way to just kind of like gently set it down without stating something.
Instead of like we're telling you this, like we're giving you this.
Yes. Yeah, it's an invitation. Yeah. It's like opening a conversation.
Well, and I love that, like hearing from our interview with Leonore last year, like how she did not want to end with like a question, like how there was like the turmoil over it of we're 5 Iron, we end with like a positive, uplifting
we're
song.
Very affirming, which is a great position.
I love that.
I think she makes a good point, but I also love that they were able to come to a place where they were like, okay, we'll allow this, like we'll like embrace this.
Yeah, and that shows like a new growth and new stage of the band of like, okay, well, I think we're fine with asking some question or like ending on a question instead of giving you something neat and wrapped up.
Yeah. Acknowledging that there is the rubble and there is the death around us, but there's also life and the fire burning. Mm-hmm. Like it's both. There's complexity kind of in life and in the career of these wonderful musicians.
And the line to itself, "Can you stand the weather if winter lasts forever?" is so good. I really love that. It. I'm a big seasons guy, so anytime you put some seasons in some lyrics, I'm like, it's gonna resonate. I resonate to this.
Yeah, but it's a great image. And like, I don't know, I love it because with this artwork and stuff, like it's like, you know, Narnia doesn't have a monopoly on the imagery of winter lasting forever.
Oh, that's
5 Iron's 5 Iron's doing their fair share of that.
That's true.
Imagery creation here.
That's true. Yeah, I said such a bleak, depressing, but effective picture. Well done, Scott. Mm-hmm. No, I think it's very well done. It's a little sad and you feel bummed, but it's very well done.
Yeah, guys, this record's so good. Okay, I mean it's a bot for me. Really cool. I'm sorry. I'm
wow. Oh wow.
You're just jumping right into it.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I guess might as well at this point, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
Well, you were the one that were going to be like, what's Kylie going to think on the record?
Too bad.
You're right on the fence.
Everybody. This record,
you just love it too damn much.
Everyone has turned off the podcast. Like, well, I know what Kylan's thinking.
Well, yeah. I also wanted to get it in a little early because no one listens to the end of our podcast if our analytics are correct. So, final flop or bop verdicts. Guys, we did it. We listened to Engine of a Million Plots. Where do we all land? Is this a flop or a bop?
Well, have you already given your 2 cents, your final verdict on the matter? That was all you had to say?
No.
If you would like to elaborate, we'll allow it.
No, it's just I feel like this record, the way that it hit me this week, I just felt like I was on Reese's wavelength.
Nice. That's so good.
It just resonated so hard with me.
That's the best when you feel like you're inside an artist's head, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just really connecting with them.
And I would so love to talk to him about
man.
This record.
Reese, if you're out there, man.
Like more than any of the other 5 Iron records that we've covered. And I was just so surprised. You know what I mean? Like between our newest album ever and Until This Shakes Apart, I think I kind of had an expectation of how I would view this record. It met those expectations, but it also surprised me in a lot of ways. Like, you guys know, anyone that's listened to this show knows I'm not a lyric guy.
Right.
And most of my notes felt like they were about the lyrics. Like,
Yes, I loved that. That was a delight for me. So
like,
thank you.
And not just the lyrics by themselves, but like the meta analysis of where he was coming from lyrically.
And the way he used his references really effectively.
It was so surprising. A+, 10 out of 10, no notes. This has been Trip Champs now. No,
Love that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Well, as two guys that have talked to me repeatedly about this record, I want to hear where y'all land and why.
I would like to go first so that you can finish it off, TJ, as the longtime
Happily.
5-Iron fan. Yeah, and as that, I feel sometimes kind of like a phony 5-Iron fan because I'm like,
Don't.
Engine is my favorite record, and it's the one I've listened to the most. I like other 5-Iron, but this is the sweet spot of 5-Iron for me of like, I like ska. I'm not always wanting to listen to some ska, but I'm pretty much always down to listen to some rock with horns. Like, that's a great formula. So, I mean, it's a bop. Easy bop for me. I bopped this the moment it came out and the first time I heard it, and it meant a lot to me, but it's still like, it isn't just a record that meant a lot to me in like a certain time in my life, and I've like, oh yeah, it's only nostalgia of like I've moved on from it. Like, it's still so fun to revisit, and there was so much musicality to like, oh, they're adding new stuff every like verse and then like in the chorus, and like there's so much new textures, and it sounds great, it's produced well, it's written well.
Yeah.
Easy big bop for me.
I don't even know if there's much left to say. Other than, like you said, like I've been a 5-Iron guy for a while. And so I think this album, in the same way that it hit, pretty big for you when it did, Josh, and for you, Kylan, more recently, it hit big for me because I had the context of their humble, plucky beginnings, and how just how goofy they were early on. And it was mostly just kind of big energy, but a lot of it very silly. And I still really value that and cherish that. And I think those records, like earlier on, as we talked about on, our episode about our newest album ever, they were still hitting some serious themes and getting into some good stuff. And that writing of Reese's was growing a lot. I think there was like an evolution phase that we witnessed on our newest album ever. And then when we covered Until It Shakes Apart, we saw the more recent, like very thoughtful, but also very angry 5-Iron. And this does feel like the synthesis or the sweet spot of like everything that we've covered on those two albums.
I mean, this is like
smashed
The
into one
Godfather
big,
2
amazing piece
of 5-Iron, right?
Yeah,
like
totally. It's Empire. Like it's
exactly.
It's kind of like the perfect synthesis of what we know this band to be capable of.
Yep.
And I mean, I think it did sort of tonally and thematically hit for me, both on like a kind of macro social level in 2013 and even more now. But it also like on a personal level, like those songs about the relationship between the band members and the way that, even though people change and relationships may shift, you can still really like kindle that fire and make that worthwhile. That still is like a hugely powerful and profound theme that I believe in, and I see it, working itself out all the time, all around me, especially this podcast. That's the beautiful thing about this podcast.
The beauty of this podcast, TJ.
It really is,
the
man.
beauty
So
of this
succinctly.
podcast.
Yeah.
Is just these the way that we can maintain these fires and keep them burning bright against the stormy and dark night out there.
Right. And not make it someone else's problem.
No.
Hey.
And I'm going to make it my bop. I'm going to make it your bop. I'm going to make it your bop. It's a bop, y'all.
Bops for everyone.
Bops all across.
I'm sure everyone. We just want to inject this into our veins.
Inject into your veins. I know you don't like ranking things. Do you have a favorite 5-Iron record? And if it's not this one, where does this rank in with the others?
That's a good
I
question.
appreciate that y'all have helped me
that we forced you into ranking things?
No, well, I mean, that just is what it is.
I enjoy that.
But yeah, I'm sure you do. No, but I appreciate how y'all have helped me reassess how I think about favorites or rankings.
They can change at any point.
They can change at any point.
just-
yeah.
You're a great example of that, Kylan. You're like right now.
That's
this
my
is
whole
how I
life.
You
feel.
multifaceted cinnamon
tomorrow-
roll of a man.
That's
You.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
A second from now, I could give you a different answer.
Correct.
In this moment, this album is definitely number one.
Okay.
Because I do think it just coalesces all of those elements into one really nice package. But I don't know. Yeah, ask me tomorrow, and I might have a different answer.
Well,
Okay.
currently, I agree with you. Of the 3
nice
5 Iron records that we've
that
covered,
we've covered. Cool.
this
I
is
like
my
that.
number one. This was so good. I'm so mad at y'all. I was the resident Ska Miser.
We've shaken your curmudgeonly ways
You
out
have.
of you. Yep. You're burning bright now, buddy.
I mean, Reese was Jack's smirking revenge. I tell you
He
what.
sure was.
Like,
He got you.
Kylan, is that a checkered shirt I see under your hoodie? You wearing?
hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm
He's gone
pick it up,
full
pick it up,
Ska.
pick it up, pick it up.
Oh
pick it up.
my gosh!
Oh,
He opens up this hoodie. There's like a tie on the whole time. Like he's been wearing a tie.
goodness. Are those
He's-
suspenders?
Yep.
Are you skanking
Yeah.
over there, Kylan, in the murder
no,
basement?
I'm wearing my checkered Vans. I'm
Oh,
ready
no.
for it, y'all.
Look out.
Okay, we did it. So I want to know from the listeners, where does this fall in your 5 Iron Frenzy ranking?
Yeah.
Genuinely want to know.
Tell
Yeah.
us.
As you know, someone who has mostly been introduced to this band via this podcast, I was incredibly pleasantly surprised. And I'm so here for everyone telling me fucking duh. You know what I mean? Like I'm
we
here
were
for it.
hopefully nicer than that, Kylan, when we just, like,
yeah. But
hinted
you know,
at you,
people
like,
on the
hey, this
internet
album's
typically
good.
aren't. So
right.
I'm fully prepared for that. So
Good.
we want to know from the listeners, was Engine of a Million Plots a flop or a bop for you? And if you like this, hey, check us out on Patreon. We've got a ton more nonsense like this.
All kinds of stuff.
In fact, we're about to record our Zen and the Art of Xenophobia music video episode.
Breakdown.
I don't know. Breakdown. Thank you. You can also follow us on all the social media at Church Jams Now. Of course, may all your favorite bands stay together and peace out, motherfuckers.
Church jams now.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Hey, we're doing the podcast right now.
What up?
We're talking about 5 Iron Frenzy. How do you feel about 5 Iron Frenzy?
Dude, Dandelions is my favorite song. What album?
Engine of a Million Plots.
Nice. Well, have fun.
Okay, I'll give you a call later.
Bye,
Hey,
Joe.
put me on the microphone.
You're on speaker, my man.
Oh, I'm on speakerphone? Hey, I love you guys. That's all. And you're a bunch of righteous new bros. Anyways, later!